The main character, suffering from the incessant snow and frost, feels a painful aversion to winter. The cold penetrates her soul, oppressing her. Her hands and feet are constantly cold, adding to her hatred of the cold season. This feeling increases her alienation and lack of comfort. Wrapped in a blanket, she struggles against the biting cold, her breath visible in the air, her thoughts preoccupied with only how to warm up. The cold brings to her frightening thoughts of possible death from freezing. The fear intensifies, filling him with a feeling of hopelessness. Gathering her thoughts, she decides to turn the heating on full blast, risking the costs. The determination to fight the cold gives her courage. A romantic scene from a manga comes to life in her imagination. A happy couple enjoying the warmth, completely oblivious to the winter cold. She immerses herself in fantasies about the noble hero, the Archduke of the North, admiring his strength and dignity, dreaming of such warmth in reality. Before them is the image of a princess, the main character of a fantasy story. Her hope for love inspires her, giving her a little more warmth to this evening. Manga, though naive, becomes his only consolation in the cold reality. The fantasy world gives her at least a little peace. The girl understands that he devoted his life to work, forgetting about his personal life. Now she seeks solace in manga, trying to revive forgotten emotions and feelings. The main character reads a manga in which Devon watches Mabel cry. This scene evokes strong emotions in her, and she feels a deep connection with the characters. Ani notices that Davon's gaze has become cold and unfriendly. The hero worries about the development of events, anticipating important changes in the plot. While immersed in reading, the heroine suddenly feels a strong cold and is surprised at how much the manga has drawn her in, as if it were inside it. Approaching the window to close it, the heroine stumbles, loses her balance, and falls. A gust of wind suddenly catches her. She does not have time to react. As she falls, she is overcome with panic and fear. She realizes that she has lost control of the situation. The cold wind only increases his helplessness. The heroine wakes up in the world of manga. Now she is the character of the story she just read, and must quickly adapt to the new reality. She becomes a blonde girl, a supporting character in the manga. At first, the heroine is in shock. Her mind goes blank, but the pain brings her back to reality. She wonders, will she stay here forever, or will she be able to return? She is in bed, her body frozen. The heroine understands that she has become Aisha, the Archduchess of the North. In this world, he faces a new and dangerous life. Michael appears and asks about her health. She feels such cold for the first time. Now they have to survive together in the harsh world of manga. Aisha finds herself with white hair and red eyes, realizing she is in a manga. She is shocked and does not recognize herself in the mirror. Looking around, Aisha sees a luxurious interior that reminds her of scenes from a manga. She feels a sense of déjà vu, as if she knows this place. The young lady remembers reading this comic before the tragedy. She becomes scared and asks the maid for permission to look in the mirror. Looking at her reflection, Aisha realizes that she really is in a manga. Her appearance is completely different. This shocks her. With snow-white hair and pink eyes, she realizes that she is not the main character looking around. Aisha notices a maid who looks at her in surprise. Aisha realizes that her new image is unfamiliar to this world. She is at a loss as to who she is now and why she ended up here. Michael, a high-ranking man with golden hair, appears. The main character realizes that he is one of the main characters of the manga. The Archduke of the North is the Archduke of the North, and Aisha is awed by his importance. His dark cloaked figure underlines his mystery. Aisha is surprised when Michael calls her his wife. She tries to understand what happened and why she is considered his wife. Aisha's husband suggests calling her by her first name, and the girl slowly comes to terms with her new role in a world she had previously known only from the pages of a comic book. In the story, Michael's ex-wife, Aisha Marianne, betrayed the Archduke by stealing his money and fleeing to another country. She destroyed his trust in women, leaving a deep wound in his heart. Michael, once willing to do anything for Aisha, is now heartbroken. Her betrayal has left him bitter and distrustful, no longer trusting any woman. Michael is divorced, and this still weighs heavily on him. The young lady, realizing that she has found herself in the body of this heroine, wonders why she was given this role. Aisha realizes that she has ended up in the North, although she always dreamed of the warmth of the South. She cannot stand the cold and is not at all prepared for the harsh conditions of her new surroundings. Aisha's husband notices that Aisha looks pale, but she does not respond, lost in her thoughts about how difficult it will be for her in this place. The cold and the unknown frighten her. The main character feels the cold penetrate her to the bone, making her white as a corpse with icy hands. She barely copes with this state, thinking only about the warmth that she so lacks. Michael is worried about Aisha and calls out to her, addressing her as his wife. She falls into his arms exhausted and unconscious, which only increases his worry. When Aisha comes to, Michael tells her that she has lost consciousness. Her recent condition further highlights how much she needs warmth and peace. To an outside observer, Aisha may appear to be on the verge of death, as she can barely stand on her feet. She thinks that she may have to repeat the escape of Michael's wife to save herself. Aisha, exhausted by the cold and helplessness, decides that she needs to go south. She declares that she can no longer tolerate the harsh conditions of the north and wants to return to where it is warm and light. Archduke of the North Liederbahn, Archduke of the North, at 26 years old, commands a powerful army. He is self-confident, inspiring respect and strength in his troops. Michael is an impeccable patriot who grew up in the harsh north. The mountains and the icy wind became part of his character, embodying the hero's determination and fortitude. Michael takes care of Aisha, the blonde girl under his protection. He worries about her desire to go south, showing his gentleness and care. The young lady explains to Michael that her words about the south are just nonsense. He insists that she cannot go there, showing his determination to protect her at any cost. Mabel is a red-haired girl who represents joy. She wonders why Michael spends more time with Aisha than with her, the princess. Mabel lost her parents and lived alone until she found refuge in the palace. This made her a resilient and sympathetic heroine of the story. The Empress saw in Mabel a resemblance to the late princess and accepted her into the family. Mabel became a favorite of the court for her kindness and sincerity. Mabel meets Michael and the southern prince Davin. Both are captivated by her beauty and strength of spirit, which creates a love triangle between the heroes. The Archduke of the North has no blood ties to the imperial family, but is close to the court. Davin, as Prince of the South, is busy with ruling and is removed from these matters. Both heroes are in love with Mabel's innocence and love of freedom, which adds drama to their relationship. The love triangle promises passion and difficult choices. Aisha's husband is adamant that he will not allow Aisha to leave. His stern gaze is full of concern. He does not want to let her out of his sight and is clearly worried about her safety. Aisha wonders why Michael is so obsessed with the North. Her thoughts are filled with worries and doubts. She does not understand what exactly is keeping him on the cold side. Michael warns Aisha that she can't go south. She smiles, trying to support him, but there is a slight worry and misunderstanding in her eyes. The main character notices the guests and joyfully points at them. The Archduke of the North remains wary. His gaze follows the situation. He does not lose his vigilance for a minute. The doctor begins his examination, intending to take Aisha's pulse. She is nervous, trying to remain calm, and Michael is watching her every move carefully. Aisha is worried that the doctor is silent about her condition. Aisha's husband does not take his eyes off the doctor, waiting to hear answers and explanations that are important to him. Michael angrily demands that the doctor take his hands off Aisha, showing that he is ready to protect her. He is not ready to tolerate the touch of strangers, except his own. Michael demands an explanation as to why Aisha faints so often. He remains serious, insisting on precise answers to understand her condition. The doctor tries to find out Aisha's origin to find the cause of her ailments. The young lady is confused. She herself does not know the exact answer to this question. Aisha's husband explains to the doctor that Aisha is from the south of Malta, hoping that this will help find the right treatment. He is ready to do anything to save his wife and protect her. Michael ponders Aisha's origins and remembers that she comes from the south, from a place called Malta, which belongs to Davin's territory. Aisha, sitting in her room, thinks about her roots and suggests that perhaps she too belongs to the aristocracy of this warm southern region. The Archduke of the North is convinced that Aisha's origins in a warm region explain her difficulties with the northern climate, where she has difficulty adapting to the cold. The doctor tells Michael that Aisha's body does not tolerate cold well, which causes frequent fainting, and her condition worsens in northern conditions. Michael is concerned about Aisha's health and suggests warming herself by the fireplace to help her cope with the harsh cold of the north and find a temporary solution. The doctor agrees that this may help for a while, but warns that the combustion products may worsen Aisha's health, and a safer way out must be found. The main character thinks that she needs to rest in a sanatorium to restore her strength. She feels tired and looks for a way to alleviate her condition. The doctor agrees with her idea and suggests going to the south, believing that the warm climate will help Aisha find peace and health. Michael, however, looks at the doctor with displeasure and clearly does not support Aisha's idea of leaving the north, especially if it is the south. The doctor, noticing Michael's discontent, changes his mind and suggests that Aisha stay in the north, claiming that the southern continent is worse than the northern one. Aisha is confused by the doctor's change of heart. She feels like he almost said what she needed to hear, but his abruptness has left her unsettled. The Archduke of the North dismisses the doctor briefly, indicating that the decision has already been made. He clearly has no intention of discussing possible changes in their lives. The young lady feels that the cold is interfering with her concentration. She is worried that Michael is ignoring her condition and not offering a solution. Suddenly, Aisha panics and begins to blame herself, thinking that she is suffering because of karma. She nervously clutches her head, doubting herself. Aisha's husband sees her in this state and wonders why she is tearing her hair out. His cold touch only increases her anxiety and fear. Aisha wonders why she can't go south, since that's her homeland. She doesn't understand the ban and desperately wants to go home. Michael remembers saying that Mabel was his first true love, which makes him think that there was nothing between him and Aisha. The main character looks at Michael, who looks thoughtful and tense. She wonders what reason he will give, waiting for an explanation from him. The Archduke of the North says that the reason Aisha is looking for does not exist. He looks a little confused and is not ready to share his true thoughts. Aisha's husband warns Aisha about the mean people around them, specifically singling out one who pretends to be a friend but acts sarcastic. Michael takes Aisha's hand and continues that he doesn't trust this man who claims that they are friends, but his behavior says otherwise. Michael says that their main enemy is Davin, who is the one to be feared the most due to his two-faced and suspicious behavior. Aisha is surprised and calls out Davin's name, asking if Michael really means the Archduke of the South. She clearly did not expect this turn of events. The young lady remembers Davin as a kind person and does not understand why Michael is so against him, because in her eyes, he was always positive. Aisha believes that Davin is a paragon of virtue who always treats his friends well and smiles. She does not understand Michael's negativity. The main character decides that she will not allow Davin to set foot on her territory. Aisha's husband leaves, and Aisha wonders if he really is upset with her. Aisha notices that one of the characters has been avoiding her for 4 days since her reincarnation, which leaves her with mixed feelings and makes her think about her new life. Lara, Aisha's maid, is concerned about her mistress's condition and asks if she is all right. The young lady tries not to show her worry, answering with restraint. Aisha smiles and reassures Lara that everything is fine and asks her not to worry so much. Lara clearly shows concern, but Aisha tries to hide her confusion. The main character recalls that only 4 days have passed since her rebirth, and all this time she felt alienated due to the cold, which literally confined her to her bed. Despite the short period of time, Aisha manages to accept a simple truth. She can no longer return to her previous life and is forced to get used to a new body and circumstances. Aisha knows that whether she likes it or not, she will now have to live in this new body. She feels the pressure because her life is now like a comic book, watched by thousands of eyes. Lara informs Aisha that his lordship has gone on patrol with the knights and will return late tonight, making it clear that Aisha will have to wait to meet him. The young lady thinks that today might be the perfect day to escape, but she doesn't have a clear plan yet. Perhaps she should seize the moment and take advantage of the situation. Suddenly, an uninvited guest appears at the estate, and Lara looks worried. Aisha has a bad feeling and tries to figure out what could have gone wrong. Lara reports that the butler has taken the uninvited guest to the living room. The main character is surprised and tense, wondering who it could be and what consequences this visit will bring for her. It is cold in the big house. The maids are discussing how someone has come. Despite the weather, Lara is worried about Michael's absence and that she will have to meet the guest. Lara learns that the guest is the Archduke of the South, Davin Maltian. His unexpected appearance causes a stir among the servants, as a visit from such an important person is rare. Davin, formerly a prince, and now an Archduke of the South, sits down with a show of majesty. his calm and confidence add to the air of solemnity. Davin greets Aisha as the Archduchess of the North. Aisha is surprised by the formality of his words and has mixed feelings about meeting him. The young lady notices that Davin looks much more masculine than she thought. Her perception changes, and she begins to wonder about the purpose of his visit. Davin explains that he was nearby and decided to visit an old friend. Aisha is surprised and feels awkward not believing the simplicity of such a visit. Davin's words about an old friend cause Aisha to be puzzled and suspicious. She begins to think that his visit may not be accidental. The protagonist wonders if her role is more important than she thought. Her involvement in the events increases despite her humble status. Davin notices that Archduke Literban is missing and is greeted by Aisha, who speaks confidently while concealing his possible intentions. Aisha explains that Literban is on his rounds. Davin realizes that their meeting is now more personal, creating an opportunity for intrigue and plot development. The young lady is surprised by Davin's words and thinks he is hinting that she should drive away strangers. He talks about her family, making her wary. Aisha notices from Davin's reaction that her suspicions have been confirmed. She is glad that she was right, but remains cautious, afraid of being wrong. Davin looks just as Aisha imagined him. She notes his differences from Michael, which makes her sympathetic and confident in him. Davin suddenly brings up the topic of family, which throws Aisha off guard. She is surprised that the conversation has gotten so personal. The main character assumes that she has problems with her family since Davin talks about it. He addresses her informally, and she thinks that they are really friends. Davin wants to discuss the current situation and shares something he has wanted to talk about for a long time. Aisha realizes the importance of this conversation. The young lady learns that she is a baroness, but not of the upper class. She wonders why Michael chose a woman of a lower title as his wife. Davin says her father is a compulsive gambler who can't control himself and often visits underground gambling establishments. Aisha is shocked to learn that her father is a gambler. Davin says that the Archduke could pay off his debts after their marriage, which sounds like typical father behavior. The protagonist is shocked to realize that she may have been sold to pay off debts. She feels anger and despair as she realizes how her fate has turned out. Davin reassures Aisha that her brother Aaron is safe and at an academy on the outskirts of the empire. Aisha is surprised, but thanks him for his concern. Davin explains that he couldn't leave Anya's younger brother in trouble because he is not a stranger to her. The young lady is embarrassed, but sincerely thanks him, promising to repay him with kindness. Aisha realizes that Davin even cares about her brother. She is sure that he is the best person, although she notices that her brother has been through a lot and suffered. Davin smiles and says that they are not strangers to each other. The main character is confused by his words. She is overwhelmed with emotions, and she tries to understand her feelings. Aisha keeps telling herself that she and Davin are just friends, but his words about intimacy confuse her, and she doesn't understand how he can say such things. Davin calls her by name, which makes Aisha slightly embarrassed. He suggests that they discuss important matters, and Aisha concentrates on the conversation. Davin asks why he came to her. The young lady feels something significant in his serious look, and her heart begins to beat faster. Davin hands Aisha the scroll she asked him to retrieve. She realizes that it is important and could change her life and her relationship with Davin. Aisha unrolls the scroll and sees that it is a divorce agreement. She is shocked and confused because this event can greatly change her destiny. Davin confirms that this is the document. He explains that once all the papers have Archduke Michael's seal, everything will be complete. The main character asks Davin, in surprise, if she really asked him for something 2 months ago on their wedding day. He confirms, reminding her that it was an important request made in secret. Aisha recalls how on her wedding day, she was already thinking about divorce, which left her with internal shock and confusion. She expresses gratitude to Davin for coming to her, noting that she was surprised to learn that he was the one who helped her escape. Davin assures Aisha that everything will be fine and that she will not be caught. He asks if she is going to look south, to which Aisha replies that it will be problematic. Davin determined offers to deal with the Baron if he interferes with her plans. However, Aisha fears that such actions may offend Michael, and this worries her. She plans to get to the capital first, and only then decide what to do next. She admits that it is warmer there than here, which gives her a little optimism. Davin expresses regret, but insists that Aisha contact him if anything happens. She agrees, nodding gratefully. Davin decides to leave to avoid meeting her stern husband, the Archduke, and asks Aisha not to see him off. He kindly reminds her of the cold outside and advises her to dress warmly. As they part, Davin notes that even the mood can be spoiled by such severe frost, which adds lightness to their dialogue before parting. The young lady feels reality begin to fade, and her thoughts are filled with the realization that everything is unfolding exactly as in the original story. Her heart tightens with worry. A few days have passed, and Aisha feels that the plans she made are starting to come to fruition. She has collected all her documents and things, preparing to escape despite the cold. Aisha confidently walks out of the house, having carefully studied the map of the area. She is determined to finally escape, feeling that this time, everything should go smoothly. She leaves a farewell note of apology, knowing that if she stays, she will inevitably die of cold. But deep down, Aisha fears the consequences of her escape. Despite her fears, everything goes too smoothly. The main character is surprised how she managed to avoid a clash with the knights on duty and reach the port without any problems. When she sees the last ship, Aisha hopes that she is about to leave this place forever. She feels that freedom is already very close. But suddenly, a man with a scar on his face appears in front of her and asks her to come with him. Aisha feels her heart begin to beat wildly with fear. The young lady returns to her room, realizing that all the documents and the letter are gone. She suspects that someone has burned them, and fear of the inevitable overwhelms her. Her thoughts are filled with anxiety. She does not understand why there is not even a guard posted outside her room, although she tried to escape yesterday. The feeling that all this is part of someone's evil plan does not leave Aisha. Aisha peers around the corner, preparing for the changing of the guard. She knows time is running out, but she sees a chance to escape despite the danger. Excitement and determination fill her. The soldiers on guard duty look tired, which makes Aisha wonder about her chances of success. Her doubts grow, and she begins to get nervous, thinking that her chances of escape are almost zero. The main character, sitting on the floor in her room, anxiously ponders what is happening. She understands that her actions may be crazy, but still hopes for the opportunity to break free. Lara and another maid find the kitten and discuss how it could have gotten there. It turns out that there is a hole in the wall near the garden, through which the kitten got in, which may give Aisha a way to escape. Aisha finds a hole in the wall and tries to crawl through it. She realizes that this is her chance to escape and feels a rush of adrenaline from the upcoming risky step. Her escape attempt fails when she lets out a scream that attracts attention. This was her second attempt, and she failed again. The hope of freedom slips away again. Michael, Archduke of the North, addresses Aisha with a silent question. He is clearly concerned about her actions, and his intense gaze causes her to feel fear and shame. The young lady cannot find the words to explain her behavior. Aisha decides she needs to leave, but Michael stops her. They have a tense conversation, during which Michael asks Aisha what she really wants and why she is so desperate to escape. The Archduke of the North asks why Aisha is constantly looking for a way to leave the house. Her actions puzzle the servants, who do not understand her motivation and try to find out the reason for her anxiety. The main character feels alienated from those around her. Despite the gentle words of the maids who joke that it is not so cold today, Michael continues to feel misunderstood. She understands that no one can understand her, and this strengthens her desire to leave this place. Michael, the golden-haired Archduke of the North, looks at Aisha seriously, letting her know that she doesn't have to tell if she doesn't want to. But despite this, he firmly says that no matter how many times she tries to escape, he will always bring her back. Aisha suddenly begins to panic, screaming that she is very cold. A crowd of servants surrounds her, and Michael stands nearby, watching as she clearly suffers from the cold. The young lady thinks to herself that this is important to her and is surprised by Michael's silence. She does not understand why he does not react to her condition. Michael gently asks if her behavior is really just cold. He tries to understand what is going on with his wife and what is really behind her words. The maids surround Aisha with care and offer to come with them. They comfort her by saying that the pajamas they have prepared for her are very warm and try to improve her condition. The maids continue to care for Aisha, asking if she is warm under the blanket and wishing her good night. Aisha looks at them with gratitude and slight surprise, happy for the care of those around her. Lying in bed, Aisha relaxes and thinks that she doesn't quite understand what's going on around her. But she feels great at this moment. She is enveloped in warmth and calm. Morning comes, but Aisha still enjoys the warmth and does not understand why she feels so cozy. She thinks about it, trying to find the reason for her unusual state. She notices that her and Michael's hands are tied and wonders why he did it. Her thoughts run to the possibility of marks being left behind, but the situation still brings a soft smile to her face. The main character looks at something strange that Michael offers her in bewilderment. It is a medicine that he found abroad, and he assures that it is extremely effective, although Aisha looks at it with obvious skepticism and surprise. Aisha is surprised to learn that her scarf is made of fox skin and her gloves are the work of a famous craftsman. This leaves her with mixed feelings, while the servant, clapping happily, is clearly pleased. The Archduke of the North notices that Aisha is still cold and suggests that she be patient for a while, despite her obvious displeasure. He also tells the maids to speed up, which irritates Aisha even more. The young lady can't stand it any longer and decides to put an end to this chaos, stating that she is already feeling dizzy. She demands that Michael remove the servants at least for a short while so that she can calm down. Aisha realizes that there is still much to do. She asks Michael to explain what the situation is, frustrated that she does not understand everything that is happening. Apparently, too much information and worries have fallen on her. The main character is shocked when Michael appears next to her bed. She tries to understand how he got there and at what moment it happened. Her gaze incinerates him in bewilderment. Aisha's husband defends himself, saying that he had no intention of doing anything indecent. Aisha seems to calm down but remains wary. The young lady furiously demands an explanation. Did he perhaps think she was going to run away? Michael sheepishly explains that the doctor told him to hold her hand to keep her warm. Aisha is shocked to learn that Michael visited a doctor while she was on vacation. She is surprised that he showed such concern, which makes her wonder about his intentions. Michael admits that he tied the bandage on his hand so that he wouldn't accidentally let go of her hand in his sleep. He honestly admits that this is the only reason for his actions, which makes him even more vulnerable to Aisha. Despite all her doubts and worries, Aisha finally tells Michael that she believes him. Their conversation ends on a warm note, although tension remains between them. After Aisha's relationship with Michael changed, she noticed that when they were alone, he only called her by her first name. This simple gesture touched her, and she felt warmth inside. The Archduke of the North is determined to do everything he can to keep Aisha warm and comfortable. He wants to take care of her, but he is afraid that she will leave if he cannot solve her problems. His words sounded confident and determined. The main character was surprised how her heart responded to this. She felt a strange excitement from his sincerity, which she never expected to experience. However, Michael had doubts. He felt that he had been too hasty in his decisions. He was tormented by thoughts that he himself could have dealt with the problems that arose and protected her. He understood that others might not realize how their actions could affect her. He didn't want anyone to accidentally harm Aisha, even if it was done with the best of intentions. At the same time, the maids were discussing how Aisha had not left her room for several days, had not eaten, and was constantly losing consciousness. They were worried about her condition, not knowing what to do. Aisha's husband felt guilty for not trusting Aisha. He thought her behavior was due to hatred towards him. But now he realized that he was wrong, and this realization weighed heavily on him. He realized that Aisha didn't hate him at all. On the contrary, her actions indicated otherwise, and it made him think about his feelings for her and how he could change the situation. Michael hoped that if he solved the problem and made things comfortable for her, she would stay with him. This became his main goal, to keep her close, caring for her well-being. He was afraid that she would want to leave him, and this thought did not give him peace. It seemed to him that his efforts might not be enough, and he was lost in his doubts. Aisha angrily demands an explanation from Michael about what is going on. She is confused by the situation she finds herself in, and clearly demands an answer. Michael, feeling the tension, cannot immediately find the words to calm her down. Last night, Michael, worried about Aisha's condition, approaches the doctor asking how he can cure her. The doctor seems confused, realizing the seriousness of the situation, but promises to help, offering treatment. The doctor explains that Aisha needs to take a warming medicine every day. She also needs to wear a scarf, gloves, and socks at all times to keep warm. Aisha's husband listens attentively to the recommendations. The doctor adds that it is important for Aisha to have someone with her at all times to keep an eye on her to maintain her health. This has raised concerns for Michael, who knows more needs to be done to protect her. In a conversation with Michael, the doctor assures that all the measures proposed will help Aisha stay warm, and he does not mean anything else. However, the tension in the air is palpable, and Michael is ready for decisive action. Michael sternly warns the doctor that he must return in a few days for a second examination and report on everything he told him earlier. The Archduke of the North is clearly worried about Aisha's condition. The doctor understands that he shouldn't joke with Michael. He is afraid of doing something wrong because one wrong move could cost him his life, which adds drama to the situation. A few days later, Aisha notices an improvement in her condition thanks to the medication and tells the doctor that she no longer faints. Michael remains to observe the process, hiding his anxiety. The doctor announces that bed rest is no longer mandatory for Aisha, which gives Michael and Aisha a little more freedom, but warns of the need to follow a certain rule. The main rule, according to the doctor, is that Aisha must constantly hold Michael's hand to keep warm. This makes Michael smile slightly, and Aisha takes this advice thoughtfully, not realizing that this could be the beginning of something more. Michael held Aisha's hand every day, showing his care and attention. This created a special bond between them, as if he was always there to protect her. He even skipped his training, making up weird excuses just to spend more time with her. This emphasized his desire to be with Aisha as much as possible. Even when Michael was busy in his office, he did not let her go. His attention was so all-consuming that he tried to be near at any moment. During the meal, Michael would sit next to Aisha as if he were glued to her. His presence became familiar and comfortable for her, despite her slight embarrassment. The young lady began to wonder if he was watching her too closely, doubting that all these manifestations of attention were really of a medical nature, as Michael claimed. She began to be uneasy by the looks of the surrounding servants, who could not help but notice the unusually close connection between them, especially one particular servant, who clearly had a special interest in them. This servant was constantly watching Aisha and Michael, which made her feel uneasy. She thought that the servant did not care about anything but his behavior said otherwise. The Archduke of the North was embarrassed when Aisha noticed the servant's attention, but her thoughts were on how young and inexperienced this observer was. Nevertheless, Michael continued to hold her hand, not letting go. He explained that he couldn't let her go because the doctor had recommended that he always hold her hand for her own peace of mind. This became Michael's way of showing concern. He asked her if she felt comfortable and warm, continuing to demonstrate his boundless tenderness and attention to her condition and emotions. Varan sits thoughtfully leaning against the bar in a rich and cozy room. His gaze is directed to nowhere. He is clearly lost in his thoughts, but he tries to hide it. His calm is broken by the approach of Davin. Varan assures Davin that he is simply resting, though Davin knows that his master is clearly worried about something. The conversation turns to the backlog of work from the trip to the north, adding tension to an already difficult situation. Varan says that he was unable to meet his brother, although he wanted to so much. This leads to a little annoyance because duties and obligations are above all else. Davin takes these words with sympathy, understanding that the circumstances were not in favor of a meeting. Varan, trying to keep the mood up, asks who suggested such a phrase to Davin. He laughs, hiding his inner feelings, trying to diffuse the tense atmosphere despite the emotional weight of their conversation. Davin advises Varan to take a good rest after they have finished their business. Varan agrees, realizing that rest is necessary, but his thoughts still keep him tense, despite his outward calm. Varan's memory flashes back to his meeting with Aisha. She seems incredibly animated and sincere, which is a big contrast to his usual image of her. This memory awakens warm feelings in him and makes him a little uneasy. He remembers the first time he met Aisha. The girl appeared before him in an exhausted state. Her appearance spoke of many hardships she had endured. Varan reflects on this with sadness, noticing her fragility. He can't understand what happened to her. Her poor dress was covered in dirt, and she looked hungry. Varan is inwardly indignant, realizing that Aisha was clearly experiencing deprivation and suffering. He notes that he has never seen Aisha smile. Her sad eyes full of inner fire constantly disturb his thoughts. He begins to wonder what lies behind her cold exterior. Varan feels deep compassion for Aisha, but tries not to show it, knowing that her pride will not allow him to accept pity. However, the thought of her suffering does not leave him, causing an even greater desire to help. Davin remembers his meeting with Aisha, noticing that she loves bread, and decides to bring it to him secretly. At that moment, he thinks about how she enjoys receiving such gestures. This emphasizes his care and tenderness towards her, which makes his act sincere. He reflects on how Aisha is different from other noble ladies. There is something genuine in her gratitude. Her sincerity evokes warm feelings in him, increasing his affection for her. This simple trait makes Aisha special in his eyes. Davin feels vulnerable, wondering how he could have helped her if she had waited for him. However, Archduke Michael's intervention has shattered all his hopes, and he is increasingly overcome with a sense of helplessness. When Aisha asks to speak privately, Davin knows something is going on and is willing to help. He senses that this is something important to her and looks forward to the conversation, trying not to show that he is worried about the upcoming conversation. Aisha states that she needs a divorce and asks Davin to prepare all the documents secretly. At this point, he realizes that her life is changing and feels responsible for this situation. Understanding that her request is difficult, he begins to collect the necessary papers, fully aware of how difficult this decision is for Aisha. Her southern origin, her strength and determination make him support her in everything, despite his own inner doubts. Davin remembers that it took him 2 months to collect all the documents. He wonders why he felt so empty inside, even though he was only doing what she asked. This feeling suddenly overwhelms him and brings internal torment. He realizes that when this is all over, Aisha won't need him anymore. At this point, he is overcome by selfish thoughts about how he already misses her presence in his life, even if she leaves anyway. Davin's final thoughts about Aisha lead him to wonder what she meant when she didn't want to return to the south. He thinks the reason is so sad and pathetic that he worries about her fate again. The main character enjoys a warm bath plunging into the foam. Her face expresses relaxation and contentment. A luxurious chandelier with a soft glow emphasizes the atmosphere of coziness, and Aisha enjoys a moment of peace. After bathing, Aisha notices bruises on her body and is surprised by their appearance. She examines herself, wondering how they could have appeared. The maid, Lara, turns away in embarrassment, as if avoiding answering Aisha's questions. Aisha ponders the possible causes of the bruises. She realizes that no one is telling her the truth and tries to find the answer herself. Lara approaches Aisha, informing her that she has already prepared the dress, distracting her from her thoughts. Lara helps Aisha by giving her a choice of jewelry. However, Aisha is indifferent because the jewelry will not be visible under her clothes. She feels hidden anxiety and wariness, not understanding why everyone around her avoids her questions. Lara, despite Aisha's words, still wants her mistress to look beautiful. She offers to choose a necklace which pleases Aisha a little, and she decides to let Lara make the decision for her, trusting her taste. Lara chooses a necklace with a pink gemstone that she thinks will bring out Aisha's eyes. She confidently shows off the piece, expecting Aisha to like it and to lift her spirits. The stone sparkles as if to emphasize the importance of the moment. The young lady agrees to Lara's choice, noticing that the necklace is truly beautiful. Lara smiles, seeing that her efforts are appreciated, and continues to enthusiastically help her mistress, hoping to improve her mood and condition. While putting on the jewelry, Lara accidentally hurts. Aisha Lara immediately apologizes, afraid that she might have done something wrong. Her face shows concern, and Aisha only patiently waits for her to continue. Aisha notices another bruise on the back of her neck, which had been hidden from view. This discovery worries her even more, because until now, she had not even known about its existence. The situation becomes more and more confusing. The main character begins to understand that she needs to understand what is happening. She decides to find answers to her questions, despite the attempts of those around her to hide the truth. Her determination grows, and she is ready to find out what secrets are hidden around her. Aisha apologizes to Lara, explaining that the bruise is almost healed, and she didn't think it would hurt anymore. Lara, slightly embarrassed, replies that it's okay since it wasn't intentional. Lara, worried about her carelessness, continues to apologize to Aisha, saying that she should have acted more carefully. Her face shows signs of worry and anxiety, which emphasizes her sincere regrets. The young lady comforts Lara, hugging her and telling her not to cry. She assures her that everything is fine, and that now that she is in the north, she will not get bruised anymore. Lara is touched by Aisha's concern. Lara regretfully remembers that Michael asked her to be careful with Aisha, and again apologizes for her mistake, vowing to be more careful next time Aisha accepts her apology. Thanks her and supports Lara. The main character and Michael discuss their time together. Aisha is unhappy that Michael spends little time with her, especially emphasizing that many days have passed. She reproachfully reminds him of his promises, hinting at his busyness. Aisha's husband tries to reassure Aisha that everything is under control, but she continues to insist, offering to hold his hand. To feel his support, Michael is slightly embarrassed and tries to reassure her that he is fine, pointing to his gloves. The young lady persistently holds Michael's hand, showing her concern and desire to be closer to him. At this moment, she notices that he suddenly touches her face, which causes her surprise and embarrassment. The Archduke of the North orders his guard Chloe to stay by Aisha's side until his return. Chloe, ever ready to protect her mistress, confirms her understanding and watches Aisha with attention. Chloe jokingly remarks that Sir Robert has been too contented lately and that his time of rest is now over. Aisha laughs with Chloe, their light conversation showing friendliness and mutual understanding. Aisha's husband smiles when he sees Aisha's energy and liveliness. He likes her activity and spontaneity, and he seems to admire her character, which adds warmth and sincerity to their relationship. The main character looks slightly distant and sad, and Aran asks her if something is wrong. She replies that everything is fine, although in fact, her thoughts are occupied with something disturbing. Aisha wonders why her heart suddenly feels so empty. Feeling cold inside, Aaron notices her state and offers to warm her up, remembering that her ladyship would have held her hand if he had been there. The young lady decides that she needs to stop thinking about sad things and try to distract herself. She frowns resolutely, trying to drive away the thoughts, and Aaron watches her with slight bewilderment. Aisha tells Chloe that she wants to drink hot tea to warm up. Chloe guesses that Aisha is remembering the tea the Archduke brought her and agrees to take her to the dining room. Chloe smiles as she remembers that she is Aisha's personal guard, loyal and always ready to protect her. Although Chloe does not play a key role in the main plot, she is close to Michael and important to Aisha. Chloe enjoys her walks with Aisha and considers herself a unique character who enjoys these moments more than Aisha herself. She suggests going for a walk after tea to distract Aisha from her sadness. The protagonist and Chloe meet another character who greets them with respect. Aisha makes it clear that she invited him not only to greet him, but also to talk business. The young lady learns about Aisha's younger brother, who may be studying at the academy and may be the same age as Aaron. She ponders this, looking at her new acquaintance with interest. Aisha gently asks Aaron if he is hungry, trying to show concern and draw his attention to their time together. Her attempts at intimacy become more and more noticeable. During tea, Chloe tells Aisha a funny story about the Sirs and their adventures. She notes that one of them was not himself for a week after the embarrassment, which makes Aisha smile, slightly relieving the tension and sadness. The main character happily treats Aran, suggesting that he not be shy and eat to his heart's content. Aran shyly thanks her, feeling the warmth and goodwill of the Duchess, which gives the scene an atmosphere of home comfort and care. In the next scene, Chloe tells Aisha about the latest incident with surprise expecting Robert to resign. Chloe laughs, and Aisha, despite having heard this many times, continues the conversation despite being slightly surprised. The focus shifts to the cup of tea, which seems to take on a special taste in the cold room. This symbolizes the coziness and importance of small joys in the life of Aisha, who tries to make the day pleasant for her guests. Michael suddenly appears and remarks with displeasure that he did not give Aaron permission to have tea with his wife. His sharp tone causes tension, and Aisha seems slightly taken aback, not expecting such a strict intervention. Aisha quickly tries to explain the situation, pointing out that she invited Aaron, but Michael doesn't want to listen and considers him an unwanted guest, which causes discontent among everyone, including Aaron, who feels uncomfortable. Chloe intervenes, explaining to Michael that Aran was just passing by, and Aisha herself called him. Michael looks at Aran, suspiciously reproaching him for daring to pass by his mistress. The young lady is outraged, and their little argument enlivens the atmosphere. Chloe tries to calm Aisha down, telling her not to worry about Michael's behavior, as he and Aaron are very close and like to tease each other. Aisha, although unhappy, begins to see the situation in a new light. The main character is surprised and asks Chloe if it is true that Michael and Aaron have known each other for so long. Chloe explains that Aaron grew up in Michael's estate, so they have been friends for many years and have essentially become almost like family. Aisha reflects on Michael's behavior. She realizes that Michael raised Aaron and wonders why he is so cold to Aaron. Despite his affection, Michael instructs Aaron to thank Aisha for her generosity, emphasizing his strict but caring methods. The butler appears in the room addressing Aisha with respect. He announces the arrival of her father, Baron Marianne, which immediately alarms those around him, especially Michael, who is watching his wife's reaction closely. In the next shot, the atmosphere darkens, reflecting the tension. The young lady nervously clasps her hands. Her thoughts are caught up in the past, where her father, Baron Marianne, was not the best example of a caring parent. The presence of the Baron causes her mixed feelings of anxiety and worry. Aisha's husband, seeing Aisha's anxiety, gently supports her, assuring her that everything will be fine and that she is not to blame for the current situation. He tries to calm her down, holding her hand, demonstrating his support and protection. Baron Marianne enters the room with a confident smile, noting how long it has been since he saw Michael. His light tone and self-assurance betray his disdain for his daughter and reveal his true intentions. The Baron, looking at Aisha, seems more concerned with the Archduke than his daughter. His true motives come to the surface. His interest in the meeting is clearly focused on Michael, which only emphasizes the indifference he has shown towards Aisha in the past. Trying to hide his displeasure, Michael maintains a cold expression. The Baron says the road was difficult and insists on being taken inside quickly. Not hiding his displeasure at the cold, Aisha tries to understand what her father is talking about, but Michael immediately interrupts the Baron, refusing to meet his demands. Michael makes it clear that he is the boss here, and the Baron will have to take his conditions into account. Baron Marianne scoffs at Michael's words, trying to turn everything into a joke. He is clearly used to using sarcasm and manipulation in communication, trying to make Michael feel uncomfortable. But Michael remains unmoved. The Baron makes an abrupt transition to business, suggesting that they not waste time talking in the living room. He does not want them to leave their mark there, clearly showing that he has not come for a family gathering, but with a specific purpose. The Baron openly states his true intention. He asks Michael to lend him money. He never loses the smile on his face, but it is clear that this is his main purpose for visiting, to take advantage of the situation for financial gain. The Archduke of the North. The Archduke of the North does not hide his displeasure. His gaze is blazing with rage, especially towards old Baron Marianne, who is clearly not distinguished by modesty, which is noticeable even without unnecessary words. Michael asks Aisha if she objects to his next decision. The girl looks a little surprised and doesn't quite understand what he's talking about, so she clarifies what Michael means. Michael's answer is short and clear. He is talking about the guards. He is clearly determined and will not tolerate any more antics from Baron Marianne, which foreshadows the brewing conflict. The Baron feels sick, and one of the guards supports him. The surroundings become tense, and even in such a situation, the Baron tries to maintain his dignity despite his obvious weakness. Baron Marianne, without losing his self-confidence, indignantly shouts at Michael, calling him a puppy, and clearly not recognizing his authority. His voice is filled with anger and defiance, which only adds fuel to the fire. The Archduke of the North orders the Baron to be taken away, adding that it is high time for him to become acquainted with the cold of the North. His words sound like a threat and a promise, reflecting his determination to restore order and put the Baron in his place. The Baron resists and tries to free himself from the guard's hands, screaming to be let go. He is not ready to accept what is happening and is still full of confidence in his rightness, even in such a humiliating situation. The main character watches what is happening with bewilderment. She doubts the nobility of the Baron, thinking that this man does not have a drop of true noble honor. She cannot believe that the Baron really represents the nobility. The Baron shouts that Michael will regret his actions, reminding him of some kind of agreement. His words sound like a last desperate warning, clearly hinting at the possible consequences for Michael. Aisha's husband looks tense and confused. He doesn't understand what agreement the Baron is talking about, but his uncertainty and tension are noticeable. Questions hang in the air, and now Michael has to figure out what exactly Baron Marianne meant. Michael notices that it is very windy outside and invites Aisha to come inside to get away from the cold. He carefully invites her inside, demonstrating his care and attentions. Aisha, looking into the distance, is lost in her own thoughts. She reflects on her experiences, feeling that her head is filled with many unresolved questions that bother her. Amidst these thoughts, Aisha wonders if she should stay in the north. The Archduke of the North discusses with someone the possibility of continuing to pretend to be Aisha until he finally appropriates her life, which makes her doubt. The young lady and Michael continue to discuss the situation. Michael remarks that perhaps it would be worthwhile to leave someone completely barefoot so that they could experience the full severity of the northern frost, to which Aisha responds with a smile. But her thoughts are elsewhere. Aisha is inwardly outraged. Is it right to treat people like this? She disagrees with Michael's opinion and ponders how to change the situation. These thoughts run through her head, reflecting her anxiety and desire for justice. The main character realizes that she must do something because the real Aisha can return to her body. She decides that she needs to act, and in the future tell Michael everything she thinks, despite the possible consequences. A determination appears in her eyes. Aisha considers this her personal business and intends to deal with everything on her own. She is determined to cope with the current difficulties without relying on others. Aisha notices that everyone around her is busy with their own affairs, which makes her feel lonely. She feels like there is no one around who can understand her or support her at the moment. She thinks about her helplessness. Because of her health problems, Michael constantly insists that she rest, which makes her feel useless. She believes that she is not doing anything useful, and this weighs her down. A young lady notices someone drop a letter and picks it up to return it to its owner. She points out the omission, showing that despite her own worries, she remains attentive to the little things around her and is willing to help. Aisha looks over the report of the duchy's latest expenditures, expressing interest in Michael's purchases. She is seen studying the document carefully, slightly surprised by the information she has found, which seems unexpected to her. Aisha's husband clearly concerned hands. Aisha document demanding an explanation. He is serious and clearly unhappy with what he found in the reports, waiting for Aisha to explain. The main character answers Michael tensely, demanding details from the very beginning to the end. She is persistent and wants Michael not to hide anything from her, as the situation requires complete clarity. Michael begins to recall how during their marriage, a pact was made between their families. This part of the dialogue highlights how important a commitment they made when they decided to unite. Aisha, surprised, admits that she has no recollection of any agreement. It turns out that another clause was added later, which she did not know about due to the secrecy established by her father. The young lady demands Michael to explain what this point is. She comes closer to him, showing her seriousness and determination to understand the situation that was hidden from her. Michael reluctantly explains that he agreed to the condition out of respect for Aisha Marianne. He recalls that he acted out of concern for her family, to avoid any possible difficulties for them. Aisha's husband emphasizes that he did not want Marianne's family to suffer because they are her relatives. He admits that he could afford this assistance, so he agreed to add the clause to the contract. Aisha, looking into Michael's eyes, admits that she cannot be angry with him. Her heart softens as she realizes that his actions were motivated by concern and good intentions. Michael promises, with sincerity in his eyes, that he will not repeat such a thing in the future. He understands how important it is to be honest with Aisha and strives to restore trust in order to strengthen their union. The main character, a blonde girl, orders her father to be brought as soon as possible, demonstrating determination and willpower. Her eyes are full of emotion, and she is clearly not going to back down from her intention, despite her difficult relationship with her father. The Archduke of the North asks Chloe if she would be willing to restrain Baron Marianne Aisha's father. Chloe agrees and smiles, saying that she would be happy to show the Baron his place. They are ready for the upcoming confrontation. Aisha's father shows up much quicker than she expected, and it even takes her by surprise. She smiles, satisfied with the quick result, because her plan is going as planned, and now she has to deal with her father. Michael warns Aisha that they cannot solve the problem with Baron Marianne with a single threat. He is concerned about the consequences that a conflict with her father could entail, understanding the seriousness of the situation. Aisha convinces Michael that they must be careful, because if the Baron gets out of control, he may demand huge, unaffordable sums of money. She firmly holds Michael's face, trying to instill confidence in him. Baron Marianne appears in a rage, shouting insults at Aisha, calling her ungrateful and dirty. He is confident that he can easily defeat his daughter, who dared to challenge him and considers her act insolent. Chloe and the other guards try to keep the Baron from getting too close to Aisha. They are concerned for her safety and are ready to protect the lady at any cost. The young lady remains calm, watching what is happening. The Baron shouts that he wants to discuss something with Aisha as a father and daughter, but his intentions are clearly far from family talk. Aisha keeps her cool, prepared for any turn of events, and is not going to give in. The Baron, feeling like he's been roughly dragged along like a sack of potatoes, starts yelling at Aisha again. His rage is at its peak, and he can't believe that his own daughter would dare to do this to him without showing any fear. The main character, despite the Baron's shouts and threats, remains calm and orders her men to step aside to give the Baron the opportunity to say everything he wants. She does not lose her composure and shows her willpower. Baron Marianne is shocked when he sees the documents that Aisha has filed to remove her from the family. He is stunned by his daughter's bold move, not understanding what led her to this decision. Aisha is adamant that she wants to leave Marianne's family. She asks her father to sign the papers without hesitation, showing her determination to leave the past behind. The Baron is furious and cannot accept his daughter's actions. He orders his men to free one of Aisha's hands to make her understand the seriousness of the situation. The young lady remains calm, but inside her a hurricane of emotions rages. She understands that the real Aisha, the old her, probably would not have dared to look her father in the eye. But now she is different. The Baron tries to convince her that she is making a huge mistake. He tries to find out who put her up to this, but Aisha shows no signs of confusion. He desperately tries to scare Aisha by asking where she will go if Archduke Michael abandons her. The Baron reminds her that only he as her father will take her back. Michael, standing next to Aisha, watches this argument. His cold eyes are fixed on the Baron, ready to intervene at any moment and protect his wife from her father's attacks. The Archduke of the North assures Aisha that she should not listen to her father's words. But Aisha, looking into the distance, realizes that the Baron simply does not understand the gravity of the situation and how much it has changed. Aisha calmly but confidently states that no one pushed her to this decision. It is her own desire and choice. She stands firm in her position, not allowing anyone to influence her actions. The main character emphasizes that even if she ends up without support and on the street in the future, she will be happy knowing that she no longer belongs to a family in which her father treated her the way the Baron did. She is now free. Baron Marianne, in desperation, turns to Aisha, asking what is happening to her. He is frightened and worried, realizing that the situation is getting out of control. The gray-haired man apologizes and promises that this is the last time in a desperate attempt to keep the situation under control. Aisha, with a cold gaze, demands that the Baron sign the papers, threatening that otherwise she will finally abandon him. Her icy tone and confident look make it clear that she intends to go all the way, and the Baron is faced with a difficult choice. Aisha's husband coldly tells her not to waste time and calls her Chloe. This adds tension to the situation, showing that he is also involved in this difficult moment, waiting for Aisha to make a decision that is already hanging in the air. The Baron is afraid of even a small scratch, while Michael has repeatedly raised his hand to Aisha, causing her pain not only physically, but also mentally. This emphasizes the contrast between their characters and increases the drama of the scene. After a difficult conversation, Aisha confidently leaves, leaving the Baron on his knees. He realizes that he can no longer hold her, and admits that he should not try to see her off. Knowing that she has made her decision, the Baron tries to hold Aisha back, grabbing her dress and asking how she could leave him. He is in despair, realizing that he has lost his last chance for reconciliation and trust, which he may not have deserved for a long time. The young lady smiles softly, stating that she is not going to hand over the documents, now reassuring the Baron. Her calm and confidence show that she is in control of the situation and is not afraid of the consequences. The Baron threatens Aisha that she will always be part of Marianne's family, no matter what happens. His words are full of anger and despair, but Aisha does not seem to be going to give in and is determined to fight to the end. But Aisha coldly replies that it is no longer his decision because the papers have been signed. Her words emphasize that she is now in control of her destiny, and the Baron will no longer be able to manipulate her. Aisha thinks about how she would not want to do this to the man she calls her father. However, she also thinks about what Aisha would do in her place. Her thoughts are full of contradictions, but her determination not to give in outweighs them. The main character, reflecting on her worries, comes to the conclusion that there is no point in getting upset over trifles. There are many important things in her life now that require immediate attention. She decides to distract herself and dispel her sadness, realizing that this is necessary for her peace of mind. Upon meeting Chloe, Aisha thanks her for her help. Their gazes meet, and a feeling of mutual understanding and support arises. Chloe, although worried, sincerely wishes her mistress peace and well-being. Chloe asks a disturbing question, trying to figure out if Aisha is okay. She is worried about the rumor that Aisha is planning to leave her family. Chloe expresses her concern and her desire to help if possible. Aisha explains that she has no intention of abandoning her family. Her actions are aimed at finding a way to put pressure on her father. She is simply looking for leverage so that she can threaten him if necessary. The young lady reassures Chloe, assuring her that the papers she holds will serve as a great tool in her plans. Chloe is still confused, but trusts Aisha's determination and willingness to act. Michael, hugging Aisha, admits that he took her intentions seriously. He was ready to support her in any decision, but feels relieved to learn that everything is not as he thought. His hug gives Aisha strength and confidence. Aisha explains to Michael that she cannot leave her family. Her decision is motivated by concern for others. If she leaves, another innocent victim will be left alone. She voices her concern for her brother, who still needs help. Thinking about her brother, Arion, Aisha realizes that she cannot leave him alone. He is still studying and needs her support. In her heart, there is concern for his future and the need to find a way to help him. The main character is thinking about how she can take her brother away from their father. She realizes that she knows too little about him and his intentions. Her mind is busy with plans and searching for information that will help her better understand the situation and make the right decision. Aisha and Michael discuss the possibility of bringing her brother to the castle. The Archduke of the North looks worried as he wants to take responsibility for his safety, realizing that this is an important step in strengthening their trust. The young lady feels unsure, wondering if Michael understands the seriousness of his proposal. She worries that he may underestimate his powers and not realize the difficulties this will bring. She begins to question her thoughts, wondering if Michael might be missing the care she provides him, perhaps worrying that her presence alone isn't enough to sustain him in this world. Meanwhile, Michael remembers how her brother was very hurt and upset in the past. He understands that if the situation repeats itself, it could negatively affect their relationship and trust. Aisha's husband cannot understand why her brother has such hatred for him, since their paths have hardly crossed. Perhaps it is because of his background and status, which causes a certain hostility. Aisha, not losing her resolve, asks Michael if he has repaid the 2,000 gold pieces. She is concerned that the debt may have remained unpaid, which could damage their reputation. Michael explains that the money was used to pay for the Baron's estate, to cover the delayed wages and expenses. He is concerned that the Baron is completely neglecting his duties. Chloe jokingly remarks that Michael doesn't yet know about the decision made behind his back. The main character feels a little awkward, realizing that she should have warned him in advance to avoid misunderstandings. However, Aisha decides that it is even better this way and convinces herself that everything is for the best. She is sure that her father will be extremely unhappy when he finds out about what is happening, but she hopes for the best. Michael confidently states that if Aisha's father doesn't like something, he can come and sort it out personally. He completely trusts Aisha and knows that she will be able to protect their common future. Aisha's husband holds Aisha's hand, asking her to go for a walk, noticing that she hasn't been outside yet. Aisha sheepishly agrees, remembering that she was distracted by a pleasant tea party, and smiles despite the cold. Chloe, seeing Michael and Aisha together, suddenly exclaims that she wants to join them too. Michael and Aisha exchange glances and are immediately struck by a mixed reaction. surprise, and slight awkwardness. Two spies discuss the unexpected harmony between Michael and Aisha, noting that they were rumored to have had problems. One of them admits that they did, but now the couple seems happy, which raises suspicion and interest. One of the spies inquires about the Baron's fate and is told that the Baron was drugged and placed in a carriage, which led to the pursuit of the Archduke's men. In response, another spy expresses regret at the possible loss of a useful ally, suggesting that he may still be useful. The young lady and Michael are sitting together, but he asks her to move to the other side. Aisha shyly replies that she is uncomfortable writing because he is holding her hand, causing Michael to suddenly become serious. The Archduke of the North advises Aisha not to write the letter at all, which causes her slight bewilderment. Turning to him, she notices that his face expresses offense. The main character is confused and a little worried by his reaction. Michael, not hiding his irritation, asks Aisha why she is writing this letter at all. Aisha, dumbfounded by his reaction, internally reflects on the fact that he is clearly offended. This causes mixed feelings in her, confusion, and a desire to explain everything. The young lady reflects on her feelings for Davin, recognizing that he is kind and caring. She remembers how he helped her in difficult moments, and this contradiction between her thoughts and Michael's behavior intensifies the internal conflict, forcing her to think about her next steps. Reflecting on their complicated relationship, Aisha can't help but admire Davin's kindness and tolerance, especially in comparison to Michael's more blunt and sometimes unpredictable personality. This internal dialogue leaves her with mixed feelings, but she decides to be honest with herself and find a balance between her likes. Aisha, looking at him with bewilderment, wonders why Michael dislikes Davin so much. There is interest in her gaze, and she clearly wants to understand the real reasons for her husband's discontent. Michael snaps back that he doesn't like Davin because his face irritates him. Hidden jealousy shows in his tone, and he can't hide his displeasure. The Archduke of the North continues to rant, claiming that the sight of Davin irritates him to the point that it becomes difficult to breathe. He imagines an image of a rival that disgusts and irritates him. The main character thoughtfully agrees that Davin's face does glow. However, despite his pleasant appearance, her husband cannot cope with his indignation, which makes the situation even more tense. Aisha's husband admits that there is another more important reason for his dislike of Davin, which he has not yet dared to voice. Aisha waits curiously for his explanation, trying to understand what lies behind this conflict. Despite his inner contradictions, Michael still cannot clearly express what is troubling him. The young lady, smiling, asks him to take Davin more calmly, reminding him that he is her friend. Michael, being too close to Aisha, notes that she and Davin are acting too freely, which irritates him even more. He suspects that there is too close a relationship between them, which cannot leave him indifferent. Aisha senses that Michael is jealous and tries to reassure him by explaining that her friendship with Davin is innocent. The Archduke of the North, however, continues to feel discomfort and irritation, unable to find the strength to fully trust her. Aisha's husband ponders the relationship between Southerners and Northerners, who, despite mutual invitations, rarely find common ground. His mind wanders to the question of why Davin irritates him so much, and he decides to figure it out on his own. Varin comes to Davin with an important message, a letter from the North. He hands it to his master, who is at first surprised, trying to figure out what it could mean. It is clear that the letter makes Davin wary because it is from an unexpected place. Varin assumes that this is just another invitation and does not attach much importance to the letter. He suggests throwing it away, considering it not worthy of attention. In his voice, there is a weariness from such messages which arrive with enviable regularity. However, Davin abruptly interrupts him, insisting that the letter be handed to him for reading. His intuition tells him that this is not just a simple invitation, and his tone becomes more insistent, reflecting hidden anxiety and curiosity. Varin is surprised to see how seriously the Archduke has taken the letter. He wonders why Davin is so excited, since the letter at first glance is unremarkable. The servant is confused and cannot understand the reason for his anxiety. Thinking to himself, Varin guesses that the letter must be from her, the woman whose name evokes so many emotions in the Archduke. He is sure of this looking at the expression on Davin's face, which speaks for itself, hiding a barely noticeable excitement. Davin, distracted from his thoughts about the letter, asks Raven how much time is left until the flower festival. Raven calmly answers that it is still a long way off. This question emphasizes the importance of the upcoming event, which also occupies the Archduke's thoughts. The main character preparing for an important event admits that she is a little nervous. She sits in front of the mirror, and the maids try to tidy her up, making sure that everything looks perfect. Lara, one of the maids, is worried about her mistress's anxiety. The maids happily remember that this is Aisha's first time leaving the estate and ask her if she is nervous. Aisha, although smiling, admits that she is a little nervous about this moment, and her facial expression confirms this. The maids admire Aisha's appearance, claiming that everyone will be amazed by her beauty. They add that she is simply beautiful, and her appearance will ensure that she will attract everyone's attention at the upcoming event. A young lady dressed in a beautiful dress asks Lara to hand her a robe, but the maid objects, saying that she looks even better without it. Despite this, Aisha remains calm and relies on her decision. Michael, entering the room, offers Aisha a fur hat, adding a bit of humor to the situation. His serious expression suggests that he cares about her comfort, despite her already luxurious outfit. Aisha responds with mild bewilderment, joking that a fur hat would ruin the whole point of her outfit. However, Michael seriously states that the most important thing is that she stays warm, and that should not be neglected. Despite her confidence, Aisha begins to feel even more nervous. She admits to herself that this feeling is growing as the event approaches. Although outwardly, she tries to remain calm and cool. As Aisha surveys her entourage, she begins to wonder why there are so many people accompanying them if they are simply going to a festival. She is slightly uneasy at the excessive attention being paid to such a mundane event. Michael explains that the streets are always crowded on the first day of the celebration, and to avoid the crowds, they only take a limited number of escorts with them. He shows concern for her safety by offering a thoughtful solution. The protagonist smiles, realizing that despite Michael's words, they will still stand out from everyone else. Her confidence returns, and she decides that she is ready to meet the public and make an impression. Aisha's husband, looking worried, reminds Aisha of the importance of thinking through every step, as this is her first official appearance outside the house. He emphasizes the seriousness of the moment, and Aisha does not understand where exactly the conversation is leading, feeling slightly unsure. Michael, smiling, reminds Aisha that this is not exactly her first time out, as she has already secretly left the estate several times. This confuses the girl, but she remains silent, accepting his words, and feeling a slight excitement from the fact that her secrets have been revealed. Aisha, trying to escape the awkward situation, decides to make the first move. She says she will go first, hoping to ease the tension a little. The Archduke of the North watches her calmly, watching her reaction. Coming closer, Michael tenderly invites Aisha to sit next to him, which causes her a new wave of embarrassment. They stand close to each other, and the atmosphere between them becomes increasingly intimate, which is noticeable in the looks of the heroes. The young lady reflects on how Michael got into a stupid situation when he tried to escape. Her thoughts are pierced by a slight judgment and at the same time sympathy. She feels like this is karma for his actions, and now he himself is trapped. In the carriage, Aisha asks Michael about what to see at the ice festival. She is interested in the unusual ice sculptures and tries to switch the conversation to a lighter topic, avoiding the topic of their recent closeness and emotions. Michael talks about the northern lights that night, assuring her that it is truly an amazing sight. He is clearly trying to interest her and distract her from her previous worries, making their conversation lighter. Aisha admits that she has never spent much time looking at the sky before and is unfamiliar with natural phenomena, such as the northern lights. Her voice is quiet, indicating her inner calm and thoughtfulness. Michael confidently declares that Aisha is about to see something truly spectacular. His words give her confidence, and between them, there is something more than just a conversation about the weather and northern wonders. The main character notices a huge crowd at the festival and realizes that there are many more people than she expected. This scares her a little because she is not used to so many people around. She feels very cold, shivering, and wondering if she's the only one who feels this cold. This makes her slightly uneasy, and she starts looking around. Aisha wonders if it is really as cold as she thinks, as everyone else seems quite calm, despite the freezing weather. This makes her wonder about her own condition. She notices that the other festival goers are calm, and even discuss how nice the weather is today. considering it ideal for a celebration. At this moment, Aisha feels like an outsider among them. Walking around the square, she notices an unusual statue, which she finds very strange. It seems to her that such a sculpture was very difficult to make, which amazes her. At this point, Aisha begins to admire the festival. The competitions and the atmosphere make her smile and enjoy what is happening, and she enthusiastically shares her thoughts with Michael. When other participants approach them, Aisha is greeted as "Your Highness" and asked how the festival is going. She looks slightly confused, but tries to keep her composure. Seeing flowers at the festival, Aisha looks at them with interest and wonders what they are called. This distracts her from everything that is happening and immerses her in her own thoughts. The Archduke of the North, noticing that Aisha has become carried away, carefully reminds her that it is better not to go far from him despite the fact that he is glad of her enthusiasm for the holiday. The young lady apologizes to Michael, saying that she was distracted by the flowers. She looks embarrassed, but also pleased that her husband is caring for her and supporting her on this day. Aisha's husband looks at Aisha with a wary expression. She notices his strange attention and wonders why he is looking at her so intently. Inwardly, she assumes that something has frightened him, but she does not understand why. In their conversation, Aisha explains that she saw a flower that caught her attention because it was unusual. Especially considering the winter season, Michael listens to her, intently, clearly intrigued by this unexpected find. Aisha shows a flower called Kilimanja. This rare species grows only in the north and has amazing resistance to frost. Her voice sounds admiration for this natural wonder. Aisha's internal monologue. She is surprised that Michael knew the name of the flower. A maid appears and happily greets her mistress, interrupting this amazing moment with the flower. The maid cheerfully informs that Aisha has probably been waiting for her for a long time. Her cheerfulness and happy mood create a pleasant atmosphere despite the tension of the previous moment. The Archduke of the North leads Aisha to the main square, where people usually gather for major celebrations. His gesture indicates the central place in the city, and he himself is serious understanding the significance of the upcoming events. The main character begins to feel the tension of the townspeople's close attention. She is uncomfortable being the center of attention, and this makes her nervous in this public setting. Aisha suggests that something is going to happen at the Ice Festival Square. Aisha's husband calmly replies that there are no official events planned, which leaves Aisha slightly confused. The young lady remembers that every year at this festival, someone takes the initiative into their own hands, and everything starts again. At this moment, she recognizes an old acquaintance, the host of the festival, who this time decided to take on the organization himself. This cheerful man with green hair becomes the host of the festival every year without permission, although no one asks him to do so. Aisha notes that the inhabitants of the North can be very different, and this makes her smile slightly. Michael and Aisha are getting ready for the festival to begin. Suddenly among the crowd, Aisha notices a familiar face, which surprises her. They clearly weren't expecting to see someone from the past, which is intriguing. The festival's host loudly announces to the audience the arrival of the new Archduchess. He notes how harmoniously Aisha and Michael look and invites them to say a few words to the assembled crowd. Michael is slightly annoyed at being asked to speak. He remembers warning Aisha that he didn't want to be the center of attention, but now there's nothing he can do. He has to say something. One of the girls in the crowd notices that Aisha might get cold without her coat, and shares this observation. The main character, despite this, jokes that she wants to look good because this is her first public appearance in her new status. Aisha assures everyone that she is not cold and that everything is fine. However, a moment later, she is overcome by a sharp cold snap and realizes that she made a mistake in not bringing a cloak. The young lady is clearly starting to feel very uncomfortable from the cold, despite trying to remain calm. She is shaking her face, is panicked, and she realizes that the situation is getting out of control. The festival host continues his speech while Aisha struggles with the cold. Aisha's husband notices her condition, but the host is so engrossed that he does not notice what is happening and continues speaking. Aisha begins to regret her decision to go out without her cloak. Her head is splitting and she is no longer able to hide her condition, although she herself asked to be presented to the public. Michael takes charge of the festival's security, assuring everyone that the event will be a success. He says this with confidence, despite what's happening to Aisha. It's Aisha's turn to speak, but she's absolutely frozen and can barely get a word out. Inside, she's panicking, unsure if she can handle the task. The Archduke of the North looks at Aisha gently, reminding her not to overexert herself. He cares for her well-being, lifting her hand to his lips. The protagonist, in response, silently looks at him, showing gratitude, although her gaze is a little puzzled. Michael is confident inside. He feels that Aisha will always be by his side, and this fills him with confidence and calm. His face lights up with a warm smile when he thinks about her presence in his life. In the background, a group of women give advice. They are sure that there is no need to be afraid of mistakes and encourage each other to remain brave in any situation. Their support and smiles create an atmosphere of mutual trust. Aisha, speaking to the crowd, hopes that this day will leave only pleasant memories for everyone. Her confidence and words inspire those present. She becomes the center of attention, expressing a sincere desire to bring joy. The young lady reminisces about the past. Despite the cold, she no longer feels the same discomfort. Images of how she will shiver when she returns home flash through her mind. But these memories no longer bring the same anxiety. Aisha and Aaron enjoy the moment while eating street food. The main character expresses her pleasure in this holiday, completely surrendering to the moment, while Michael watches them from the side with restraint. Michael jokes that Aisha always has a better appetite outside. She, embarrassed, begins to justify herself by saying that it was Aaron who tempted her to try the food. Their interaction is light and playful. Aaron shares his impressions of the dish with Aisha, noting that he has already tried something similar in the capital. His calm and thoughtful look emphasizes his experience and self-confidence, while Aisha is interested in his opinion. Aisha, slightly surprised, remarks that she always thought of Aaron as a native northerner, radiating coldness. Her words make Aaron uncomfortable, but she only pokes fun at his image, adding a playful note to their conversation. Feeling that she may have offended Aaron, Aisha sincerely apologizes to him. Aaron, however, calmly replies that everything is fine, showing that their friendship remains unchanged. A young lady dressed in an elegant dress is talking to Michael. He gently wipes a stain from her face, causing Aisha to become embarrassed. She seems a little confused, but accepts his gesture with gratitude. The Archduke of the North thanks Aisha, and she asks in surprise what for doubt flashes through her mind. Does she really need to thank him? He is simply courting her as always. Aisha's husband, hearing her question, answers evasively and asks Aisha to look away. He seems worried, and Aisha looks at him with incomprehension, sensing the growing awkwardness in their conversation. Aisha notices that no one around her seems surprised by what is happening. She stands in the middle of the crowd, deep in thought, her gaze directed at someone in the distance, surrounded by snow. Aisha's attention is focused on her own appearance. She understands that it is incredibly difficult to get used to such beauty. Her gaze becomes thoughtful, and her cheeks turn slightly pink from Michael's compliments. Michael warns Aisha that she might get cold, gently wrapping his arm around her shoulders. She shudders slightly, but feels the warmth and care emanating from him. The main character laughs and tells Michael that he scared her with his sudden movement. She smiles, but there is still a hidden worry in her eyes. The Archduke of the North tries to cheer her up, but she is still a little nervous. Baron Marianne, in tears and despair, begs for help. He talks about his children and the debts he has to pay. His voice trembles, and it is clear how upset he is about the situation. In a ruined mansion, in a terrible state, Aisha realizes that people's trust in her father has been undermined. He turned to her for help, but the sight of his house brings sad thoughts of its former glory. Aisha, standing in the shadows, looks thoughtfully at her father as he talks about his children. Mixed feelings overwhelm her. She wonders who exactly he is talking about, and suddenly notices a shadow in the room addressing her. Aisha's husband, frowning, confronts the Baron, who offers him to take his daughter Aisha as a concubine. The Baron clearly does not care about his daughter's feelings, causing Michael to notice his rudeness and inappropriate words, and is shocked by his lack of ceremony. Michael sternly warns the Baron about the inadmissibility of such a tone. In response to his words, the Baron laughs nervously, trying to hide his fear. Michael becomes increasingly irritated, realizing that before him is a person incapable of adequate communication. Aisha's husband notices Aisha standing in the distance. It is not noticeable at first glance, but there are many wounds on her body. Michael understands that she has been through a lot and that her father is the cause of this suffering, which causes him inner indignation and sympathy for her. The young lady, despite her situation and the suffering caused to her, asks Michael to save her father. This unexpected appeal shows her inner strength and desire to protect her family, even if it contradicts common sense and her personal interests. The Archduke of the North ponders Aisha's motives, realizing that her request is motivated by love and devotion. However, he also realizes that it is not safe for Aisha to remain in this place, and that her father is only causing her the pain from which she must be protected. After much thought, Michael agrees to help and save her father, but on the condition that Aisha will no longer stay with him. He understands that this is the best way out for her, despite her protests and inner torment. The servants at the castle discuss the recent wedding of Michael and Aisha, noting that they did not even have a wedding kiss. They suspect that this marriage is just an arrangement, seeing no benefit for the Archduke, which leaves them perplexed. Michael tries to talk to Aisha and invites her to dinner. He tries to create an atmosphere of comfort and understanding, but Aisha seems distant and lost in her thoughts. Michael begins to doubt whether she will ever be able to trust him. Aisha, avoiding direct contact, asks Michael to leave her alone. She apologizes for her abruptness, but her gaze is full of internal struggle and indecision. Her wounded heart prevents her from opening up, which Michael intuitively senses. The Archduke of the North, watching Aisha, wonders if she will ever be able to open up to him. It is hard for him to see her isolation and inner suffering. He understands that not everything can be solved by force, and decides to wait patiently until Aisha decides to trust him. Aisha's husband stands in a richly decorated room, lost in his thoughts. He reflects on how he has become accustomed to a lonely life, finding solace in the harsh north. However, something new and unknown disturbs him, causing strange feelings in him. Suddenly, he feels an overwhelming desire to talk to Aisha. This impulse destroys his cold heart, as if it were breaking into pieces, radiating light. This feeling is strong and unusual for him. Michael wonders what happened to Aisha. He remembers the moment when her gaze changed and confidence appeared in her eyes. It was the beginning of a change in their relationship. Now, even when he is near Aisha, Michael feels uneasy. He tries to understand where this new feeling comes from, which causes anxiety despite her presence. Michael's face is hidden in shadow. He thinks about how he told his servant to just imitate the actions. But the servant went too deep into the role, which causes Michael doubt and anxiety. He realizes that in the end, all his intrigues and games will only harm himself. These thoughts poison his mind, forcing him to think about the consequences of his actions. The main character is sitting in the living room and talking to Lara. She asks how the last day went. Lara, a little tiredly, answers that the end of the festival is always the least interesting. However, another maid objects, recalling that the "who can last the longest on the ice" contest was amazing. She is overcome with emotion at the memory, but Lara shyly asks her not to mention it in front of her mistress. The maids are amazed by the way Aisha greeted the townspeople on the first day of the festival. They find her behavior amazing and admirable, even though Aisha humbly asks them not to exaggerate. The Archduke of the North realizes that Aisha has become the woman who has changed his life. People around him talk about her, praising her influence and strength. These thoughts finally convince him of the importance of her presence in his life. The maids are excited to discuss how Aisha holds someone's hand all day long and personally brings them medicine every day, showing her care and support. Aisha complains that Michel is only doing this to keep her from freezing to death, but admits that he is a caring person by nature. She feels awkward, but appreciates that it helps maintain the friendly facade. The young lady asks the maids about news from the capital, wanting to know the latest rumors or changes. Lara remembers that her uncle lives in the capital and heard something interesting. Aisha thinks that the story should not deviate too much from the script and plans to leave the north after Mabel arrives. But suddenly, her heart begins to worry, and she does not understand why she feels uneasy. Lara tells that her uncle saw the prince leaving the palace and remarked on how handsome he was. The main character listens with surprise and interest, although she feels some anxiety. Aisha thinks about Mabel's brother, who, although not a central character, cared about her, even though he was not her biological brother. He is a good person, although he did not play a significant role in the plot. The maid asks Aisha if she has seen the prince, but Aisha admits that she has not. Never. The maids speculate about his appearance, discussing who he might resemble. Lara resolutely notes that the prince does not look like Archduke Maltian at all. They have different facial features and hair color, causing Aisha even more questions and bewilderment. It is discussed that Avon probably took after his mother, which is why he was not made the crown prince. He resembles too much a woman who does not have noble roots, which is why he was excluded. This information leaves Aisha with conflicting feelings. It feels like something sharp has pierced her heart, and she ponders her reaction, not understanding why this news has affected her so much. Aisha's husband reacts sharply to Aisha, calling him by his first name. He is clearly surprised and trying to understand what she said. His facial expression shows bewilderment and confusion. Michael stares at Aisha, demanding an explanation. His eyes are full of disbelief. He can't believe his ears and wants Aisha to repeat what she said. The young lady realizes her mistake and tries to smooth things over by noting that Michael is no match for her dear husband. Her expression is joyful but slightly worried. Aisha laughs, trying to distract Michael and avoid awkwardness by offering to leave with him. She complains about the maids, who according to her only chat, showing off their ease in communication. Michael, a little embarrassed, agrees to Aisha's proposal, but still remains wary. The main character, full of enthusiasm, jokes that she thinks he liked her better, before to which Michael reacts reservedly. Aisha's husband, with a stern expression on his face, asks Aisha to look only at him. His voice sounds imperious and demanding. At this moment, he shows his jealousy and possessiveness, demanding her full attention. Aisha is distracted by a conversation about the health of a girl named Aisha, who is already feeling better after her illness at the ice festival. Michael expresses a slight relief at the news. The Archduke of the North is busy with his own affairs, immersed in his work at his desk. He is trying to concentrate, but there is still tension in the air. His concentration on the documents underlines his importance and responsibility. A servant comes to Michael with an invitation for Aisha, explaining that he himself does not know when she will wake up, and therefore asks Michael to deliver it personally. This moment emphasizes Aisha's importance and status. Michael is displeased with the invitation he received from Archduke Maltian, considering it an open provocation. His look and words betray irritation. He feels provoked and is not going to leave it unanswered. Michael explains that his wife Aisha has fallen ill after the ice festival, so he is answering for her and is forced to decline the invitation. He expresses regret and hopes for the other person's understanding. Davin, the Archduke of the South, is surprised to learn that Aisha is ill. He wishes her a speedy recovery and thanks Michael for being responsible for her. Davin suggests that Aisha come to the South to improve her health in a warm climate. The Archduke of the North asks warily what they are talking about, noticing the correspondence on the table. He replies that Aisha is very ill now she is not ready to travel, and asks not to worry about her, showing his reluctance to let his wife go. Davin insists, saying that Aisha is his old friend and that caring for her is natural for him. Aisha's husband is annoyed by such care, believing that Davin is interfering in his personal affairs. The correspondence becomes tense, and Michael is clearly unhappy. While Michael is busy with correspondence, Aisha happily announces that she has received an invitation to the flower festival, which will soon take place. She is excited and looking forward to the trip, unaware of the controversy that is going on about her trip. The young lady insists that she wants to go south, believing that it will be interesting and useful for her. Michael, skeptical, notes that it is probably already warm in the south, and this could have a positive effect on Aisha's health. The servants begin to prepare for the trip, gathering Aisha's things. The Archduke of the North, looking at the situation with displeasure, remarks that he has no choice but to agree to the trip. He decides that he will discuss everything personally with Davin. Robert, Aisha's personal guard, announces that he will accompany her on her journey. He explains that he was unable to escort her to the festival earlier because he had to guard the estate, but is now willing to accompany Aisha south. Robert cheerfully tells Aisha that Chloe has been mentioning her constantly. Aisha is surprised to learn that she has been discussed frequently. Robert looks pleased, hinting at the pleasant conversations that await Aisha on the road. Aisha's husband feels compelled to go with Aisha to protect his position and his wife. He is annoyed by the situation, but cannot resist Aisha's wishes and plans to clear things up with Davin personally. The main character feels joy and excitement, thinking that she will soon see other lands of the Empire. Traveling beyond the northern border should help her understand her aspirations and find a new path. She feels that she is moving forward and progressing. Michael invites Aisha to stay inside the carriage, but she feels uneasy just sitting around while everyone else is busy. She doesn't want to be a passive observer and wants to contribute to what's happening. Michael is worried and doubts whether Aisha really wants to go on this trip with him. Aisha confidently confirms her decision, adding that she has a need to meet an important person, which adds motivation to her trip. Aisha's husband asks who exactly Aisha wants to meet. She replies that her target is Davin Maltian. It becomes clear that this meeting is of great importance to her, and she is not going to back down from her goal. Michael expresses his determination to deal with Davin Maltian, wanting to put him in his place so that he does not interfere in other people's affairs. There is determination in his eyes, and he is clearly ready to act to protect Aisha and their mutual interests. The young lady regrets that they were unable to reach their destination by ship as the Ice Witch's curse began. This forced them to change their plans and take another route, which turned out to be more difficult but necessary. Aisha's inner monologue suggests that Michael probably wanted to take her on a boat ride, and she is slightly moved by this. She imagines what it would be like with a slight feeling of tenderness and a slight sadness. The Archduke of the North reminds them that they will be stopping in the capital, which he thinks might be even better. He emphasizes that this stop will provide them with new opportunities and could bring something useful to their journey. Aisha happily notes that the capital has many cafes with delicious desserts, and this gives them a chance to spend more time together. She enthusiastically says that this will help strengthen their relationship, creating new, pleasant memories. The main character dreamily suggests exploring all the culinary delights of the capital, smiling and imagining this adventure with sparkling eyes. Michael is a little embarrassed, but agrees, realizing how important it is for Aisha to spend time together and strengthen their bond. Aisha, finding herself in the north, realizes that even such a harsh place has its advantages. She looks forward to trying the dessert from her favorite story and attending a festival at the same time. Michael, Archduke of the North, notices that Aisha is unusually cheerful. Her spirits are lifted by the upcoming events, and she admits that she is indeed happy about it. The young lady remembers how long she struggled to survive in the cold. Now that she is in the north, it does not seem so difficult to her because she is used to challenges. The Archduke of the North suggests that Aisha stay home if she is busy, assuring that they will still have time to go on a trip together, but Aisha is sure that she will go because she wants to attend the festival. Aisha's husband notes that Aisha really wants this. He adds that if she needs anything else, she can just tell him. The servant reminds Michael that it is time for them to have something to eat. Aisha agrees that it is indeed time for lunch, and they decide to continue their journey later. Michael notices that they are almost at the border, where it is not so cold. He suggests that they eat first and then take a walk, to which Aisha readily agrees. The main character gets out of the carriage and notes that the cold here is not as severe as she imagined. She feels comfortable and confident in this place. The maid Lara solicitously offers Aisha warmth, offering her a blanket and hot medicine. Lara also points to a fire where she can warm herself and asks Aisha to call her if she needs anything. Aisha thanks Lara, assuring her that she is not as cold as she seems. Lara, a little surprised, still agrees, but expresses concern for her mistress's condition. Walking through the snowy forest, Aisha, dressed in a light dress, smiles, despite the chill. The maid Lara worries about her mistress, offering to wrap herself in a scarf. But Aisha assures that she feels fine, ignoring the cold air around her. The Archduke of the North notices his servant approaching him and asking how his mistress is feeling. In response, he answers with cold calm that it is not cold at all in the north, although those around him know that the frost bites harder than usual. Aisha's husband approaches Aisha, reminding her that she knows little about the harsh climate of the north, being from the south. He warns that many people die from the cold during the winter months, which makes Aisha think about the seriousness of his words and how she will adapt to her new home. Michael sadly admits that the north sometimes scares even him, despite all the years he has lived here. His eyes show concern for Aisha that she will not be able to get used to these harsh conditions, but he does not show it, keeping his feelings to himself. The young lady, startled by her husband's words, tries to hide her anxiety. She did not know that the cold could be so dangerous. She is offered to sit by the fire to warm herself, and she, a little embarrassed, agrees, realizing her vulnerability to the harsh climate. A boy named Aaron, Michael's assistant, carries wood to fuel the fire. When Aisha asks what he is doing, he explains that he is following his lordship's orders. At that moment, Aisha realizes that even small actions can be important for survival in these conditions. Looking at the fire, Aisha wonders why everyone around her is so concerned about the cold. She quietly thinks out loud that it is not that cold here, but soon realizes that this is only her naivety, and the North does not forgive frivolity. Aisha sits next to Aroy by the fire, trying to warm herself. The boy sitting in the shade seems lost in his thoughts, and Aisha notices how silent he is, showing almost no emotion. She understands that this young man hides many secrets and feelings. Watching Aroy, Aisha remembers that he once lived in the capital. She tries to start a conversation, asking how he copes with the cold. Aran, however, barely notices the frost, assuring that such cold does not affect him, as if he himself has become a part of this harsh world. Aaron briefly explains that he doesn't remember much about his days in the capital. His face remains impassive, but Aisha can see that he has something to hide. She wonders what exactly is behind this calm, and what it's like to feel the cold not only around you, but inside. Chloe, in a cheerful mood, brings food, wanting to please her mistress, Aisha. She shines with energy, holding bowls of soup, and tries to be useful, despite all the difficulties. The main character and companion look at her with interest, appreciating her efforts. Chloe explains that lunch is vegetable soup with bread, apologizing for the modest fare. She emphasizes the importance of food before the upcoming trip to the capital, motivating everyone to maintain their strength, even if they are not particularly hungry. Aisha, with a small smile on her face, enjoys the soup, appreciating Chloe's warmth and care. She is pleased that Chloe has joined their group, feeling the support and devotion of her guardian on this difficult journey. The young lady looks around, wondering where the rest of their group went. Her gaze is filled with slight worry, as she is used to seeing her team in full force. Chloe notices that the climate becomes milder as they approach the capital, and no one wants to sit by the fire because of the heat. Two men complain about the heat, feeling too warm, even without the fire and sweating from the stuffiness. Aisha smiles as she notices that despite the surrounding heat, Chloe remains unperturbed. Her expression is filled with admiration for her guardian's resilience, but also a hint of envy for her resistance to high temperatures. Chloe is determined to accompany Aisha everywhere. No matter the heat or difficulty, she is confident in her abilities and is willing to endure any inconvenience for her mistress, demonstrating unconditional devotion. Chloe confidently promises to always be by Aisha's side, no matter what the circumstances. She extends her hand, looking at the snow-capped mountains ahead, symbolizing her unwavering loyalty and determination to be a protector. The main character, slightly stunned and discouraged, receives an unexpected offer from Chloe to walk with her along a mountain path. Her look expresses surprise and interest at the same time, but she still does not dare to take such a bold step. Aisha feels a gentle touch on her hair. The sensation gives her a warm feeling that awakens memories of calm and safety. She understands that this is not just a touch, but a sign of care and tenderness, something she has been lacking lately. The warmth of the touch continues to envelop her, giving peace to her soul. The young lady gradually relaxes, allowing herself to be lost in these feelings. She enjoys the moment, feeling how the tension leaves her body, and her thoughts become clear and light. Michael looks at Aisha tenderly and continues to stroke her hair. He sees how she gradually calms down, and this brings him joy. Aisha, feeling this care, asks him not to stop wanting to keep this feeling as long as possible. Michael and Aisha arrive in the capital together. For them, the place is full of memories and hopes. Aisha's husband guides her confidently, and Aisha, still under the impression of his care, tries to comprehend everything that is happening to her. They enter a new place together, and she becomes curious about what awaits them next. The main character is amazed by the grandeur of the building they have arrived at. It seems to her that this inn is huge and full of secrets. She is a little worried, but Michael is nearby, and this gives her confidence. Together, they decide to go inside to find out what awaits them behind these walls. Robert, Aisha's personal guard, welcomes them inside. He shows them the way with a smile and explains that the rooms reserved for them are at the very end of the corridor. Aisha feels that everything here is done for their comfort, and this lifts her spirits. Robert offers Aisha to choose the most beautiful and largest bedroom. She gratefully agrees, but asks where Michael will live. She wants him to be as comfortable as she is, because he has always been there for her, supporting and protecting her. Robert's face becomes confused. He tells her that there is no separate room for Michael, which surprises Aisha. She doesn't understand how this could happen, because Michael is an archduke and deserves better. Michael, noticing the awkwardness of the situation, decides to smooth it over. He says that it is probably some kind of mistake, and it does not bother him at all. He smiles at Aisha, assuring her that everything is fine and she does not need to worry. The Archduke of the North suggests that Aisha not worry and just forget about this misunderstanding. He embraces her and whispers that there is no other way out. They will have to share one room. The young lady is slightly embarrassed, but she understands that his presence next to her is more important than anything in the world. Aisha is disappointed that she found herself in this situation, looking around the luxurious interior of the room with the fireplace. Her mind is filled with doubts about how she could have been deceived or tricked into ending up here. She looks at Michael, who looks smug, as if everything is going according to his plan. The protagonist notices how he is enjoying the moment, and this irritates her because she feels trapped in circumstances that she cannot control. Aisha notices the large bed in the room and is amazed by its size. Her thoughts immediately begin to wander in different directions, fueling the anxiety of the upcoming joint stay with Michael in the same room. Questions arise in her mind. Why did Michael decide to put them in the same room? Aisha is confused and does not know how to react to such unexpected conditions, feeling awkward and tense. The young lady begins to reflect on the fact that they are no longer in the north, and there is no need to sleep together to survive in the cold. She suspects that Michael does this solely for his own peace of mind and confidence. Michael notices that Aisha is deep in thought and asks her what she is thinking about. Aisha jumps up in fear, caught in her thoughts. She is not ready to open up to him and only denies, trying to hide her embarrassment. The protagonist finally asks why they only have one room, clearly not understanding Michael's logic. Her eyes express confusion and slight worry as she searches for answers in his facial expression. Michael calmly replies that it is his decision and asks if she doesn't like it. He is clearly enjoying the moment, seeing how Aisha is trying to understand what is happening and his motives. Aisha admits to herself that she is not happy with the situation, but she cannot say that she absolutely does not like it. Her face is flushed with embarrassment, and she realizes that she has mixed feelings about what is happening. Realizing that she has gone too far in her thoughts, Aisha tries to pull herself together. She convinces herself not to think about unnecessary things and to regain control over her thoughts so as not to succumb to Michael's provocations. The young lady, the protagonist, starts the conversation by proposing that the company drink in honor of something significant. Robert supports her initiative, enthusiastically proposing a toast. "Here's to us." He looks slightly drunk and pleased, reminding us of his devotion to the company. The Archduke of the North, concerned that Robert may be overdoing it with his drinking, urges him to be careful and not to get too drunk. Robert, despite his frivolity, confidently replies that he knows when to stop. Aisha, noticing Michael, expresses her joy that he has finally returned to the company. Her glowing eyes show how much she appreciates his presence. She admits that she actually enjoys being surrounded by cheerful company. Aisha's husband, noticing this, is clearly pleased, but hides his emotions behind a serious expression. Suddenly, a feeling of embarrassment takes hold of Aisha. She realizes that she didn't say exactly what she wanted, and begins to justify herself, trying to soften the situation in front of Michael. Meanwhile, Robert can't stand the drink and fatigue and falls on the table. He complains that he can't drink anymore, and that it's his duty to take care of the lady, obviously referring to Aisha. However, Aisha notices that she seems to have a high tolerance for alcohol. She does not feel drunk and continues to have fun, offering to drink to the bottom. She is visited by thoughts that she never thought that she would ever be able to drink and laugh with others so carefree. It seems unreal to her, like a dream. Michael, watching this quietly, says that he thinks Aisha likes it here. His closeness and breathing make her heart beat faster, making her feel embarrassed. The main character feels his breath tickling her ear. She decides not to look in Michael's direction so as not to give away her feelings, because this is the moment when her emotions seem too obvious to her. Chloe turns to the others with indignation, demanding that the game begin, since Aisha is already bored. Her decisive tone emphasizes the importance of the moment, and everyone immediately prepares to act. The game starts with a simple rule. Spin the fork, and the person the sharp part points at must say something they couldn't say before. This intriguing game promises many unexpected things. One of the participants realizes that the game and its rules echo Korean customs, which causes him mixed feelings, especially in the presence of the Archduke and his wife. But doubts remain in the shadow of the game. The Archduke of the North, not showing much interest in the game, watches the proceedings with laziness, noting that he is interested in observing the actions of others. His coldness and detachment stand out against the background of the other participants. Aisha tries to understand why her servant does not consider himself worthy of accompanying her. Her surprise gives way to slight confusion because she did not expect such a reaction from her faithful servant. The fork points to different participants several times, and their words become increasingly frank. Some confessions evoke laughter, others touch the soul, turning the game into a real test of sincerity. One of the participants mocks the young servant, not believing that he has anything important to tell his mistress. This causes hostility among those around him, but they decide not to interfere and continue the game. Aaron, reflecting on his duty, realizes that he would have liked to say something important while he was accompanying Aisha. His reflections fill him with the determination to say what he has long kept to himself. Aisha's husband is surprised by what Aaron wants to tell him. He becomes curious because usually the servant did not dare to speak so frankly, but now his words may be very important. While all attention is focused on Michael, Aisha remembers her thoughts about Sir Robert. She realizes that she must finally tell him everything that has been pent up in her soul. The game begins a new round of emotions and revelations. Robert is clearly confused around the table when Aisha suddenly reveals that she dreams of his features, causing her to wake up in a cold sweat. He is unsure how to react to this admission and looks dumbfounded as it has clearly put him in an awkward position. The young lady continues to tell that these dreams frighten her, and Robert is amazed, trying to understand the reason for such unusual attention from his mistress. He is confused. He cannot understand why it is his face that causes such dreams in her. Michael intervenes in the conversation, pointing out that Robert has misunderstood the situation. Michael is clearly annoyed and points out that his wife cannot sleep well. Because of this whole situation, Robert feels pressured and tries to justify himself, but his words are confused, and he does not know what to say. Amidst all this, Chloe and another guard are watching the conversation. Chloe suggests they interrupt their conversation, but her interlocutor politely wonders why they should do that. He is clearly curious about how this situation will end and suggests they wait a little. Chloe confidently insists that she must wait, anticipating that this could lead to her promotion. She watches this with obvious pleasure, her spirits lifted by the thought of a possible reward for her efforts and loyalty to her mistress. Aisha wakes up and has trouble remembering where she is and what happened to her. She is clearly not in her room and feels disoriented, not remembering how she got there, which adds to her anxiety. The protagonist finds that her body is clean and smells of soap, which surprises her. She assumes that this could be the work of Lara, her maid who always takes care of her mistress. This gives her warm feelings, but also hints that last night was clearly wild. Michael meets Aisha and asks if she did anything strange last night. He is clearly referring to her excessive drinking, but he seems slightly amused. Aisha's husband teases Aisha, reminding her that she likes to drink. Michael approaches Aisha, kisses her forehead, and tenderly remarks that she is cute, even when drunk. He looks at her lovingly, and Aisha maintains a neutral expression, but is clearly touched by his attention. This scene highlights their warm relationship despite all the confusion. Aisha worries about whether Michael has had enough sleep, but he assures her that he is used to sleeping in any conditions. He tries not to show his tiredness, but Aisha's caring look betrays her concern for him. The Archduke of the North recalls the hard times of the war, when he had to sleep standing up. He had to become a general early, because the imperial family was constantly pressuring him. These memories bring seriousness to his face. The young lady is sad, imagining the terrible trials Michael had to go through. He, noticing her mood, gently asks her not to be sad, reminding her that he has coped and is ready to move on. Aisha wonders at what age Michael began to participate in campaigns. He tells her that he first went to war at the age of 18. This information shocks Aisha because since his youth, he has known only hardships. Michael continues to share his memories of pressure from the imperial family and the need to quickly take the place of the general. The main character understands why he is used to being lonely and reserved. Aisha sees Michael in his strict military appearance with flags and weapons in the background. He looks confident and determined, but her heart is filled with sadness because behind this strength, there is so much pain. Michael doesn't want to talk about his past with Aisha, considering it a long-gone stage. He tries to change the subject so as not to delve into sad memories that hurt his soul. The young lady notices that Michael is not ready to share all his experiences and respects his decision. She says that if he does not want to talk, then she does not need to know, but stays close, showing her support. The Archduke of the North offers to tell Aisha something else about herself, pushing the conversation into a lighter, more positive direction. His smile softens as he looks at her, for her presence brings him peace. Aisha wonders why Michael is used to being alone. She asks about his mother, trying to better understand his childhood. Aisha's husband recalls that his mother was a confident and strong person who did not show weakness even in the face of death, and Aisha is filled with even greater sympathy and warmth for him. The main character is surprised by the care and love of the Northerners. For her husband, Michael notes that she always thought of him as confident and independent. She admires how they respect him, but Michael admits that it took a long time to gain their trust. Michael recalls his childhood when he was a simple child with no skills or understanding of the world around him. Due to his inexperience, he even refused several invitations to the palace, not realizing their importance. Aisha is confused and asks about the invitations because the palace is something significant. The Archduke of the North smiles and tries to explain her confusion, slightly embarrassed by his past mistakes and wrong decision. Aisha's husband says that he once felt no obligation to appear at court because he did not consider himself connected to the imperial family. He admits that he is sometimes prone to outdated notions, but he was young and did not understand their importance. He explains that because of his isolation and northern independence, the imperial family still dislikes him. Although he admits his guilt in this, he still believes that they are wrong in their opinion of him. The conflict between the North and the South also played a role. Southerners were unhappy that the North was closing itself off from them, which caused misunderstandings and hostility between the two regions. However, Michael reassures Aisha that everything is fine now. They have become closer and understand each other better, which no longer causes problems and misunderstandings between the North and the South. He notices that his friend Davin is also having problems in the palace. Despite his kindness and gentleness, he finds it difficult to find understanding and support among the courtiers. Michael observes Davin at an event and notices that despite his efforts to hide his displeasure, he clearly does not like his situation. This strengthens their friendship and understandings. Although Davin is a kind and warm person who never returns evil for evil, his unique character makes him different from others, which causes him difficulties in relationships with others. Michael, confident in his mission, hears praise from Aisha. She acknowledges that he has grown into a worthy man. There is a deep connection between them, and their glances are full of understanding and tenderness. The young lady reminds Michael that his choice to become the defender of the North was his mother's dream. This moment is important to him, and he reflects thoughtfully on his goals and duties. As Michael embraces Aisha, he feels that he has made the right decision to link his destiny with her. A certainty is born in his soul that their union will bring more than just marriage. Aisha, feeling confused and worried, thinks about how Michael may not have benefited from their union. She worries that she is just a person with debts, but he still chose her. Aisha's husband falls asleep next to Aisha, and she watches him with deep tenderness and care. This moment of closeness shows how much comfort and peace are important to each other. The main character, remembering how Michael always holds her hand when he thinks she is cold, wonders if he is worried about her at the moment. She feels protected even when he is sleeping. During breakfast, Aisha's face literally lights up with embarrassment and excitement. This is noticed by the person around her, and her reaction reveals her feelings for Michael. Aisha begins to convince herself that nothing special happened. After all, they just slept together, without any ambiguity, She tries to calm her inner emotions and not think about deeper feelings. The young lady hopes that Michael did not notice her tenderness when she took his hand while he was leaving for training early in the morning. Her thoughts are full of doubts and worries, but she cannot hide her affection. Michael, lost in his thoughts, thinks that if Aisha is silent, it means that she has not noticed his reciprocal feelings. He is sure that no one has guessed about his true emotions and feelings for her. The Archduke of the North states, with satisfaction, that thanks to Aisha, he was able to sleep well, and she reacts with surprise, blushing at his words. Lara, standing nearby, is confused by the ambiguity of his comment, creating an awkward atmosphere. Lara is confused by the way Michael said it, worried that someone might misinterpret their relationship. She nervously states that nothing happened between them, trying to smooth over the situation that caused her embarrassment. Michael responds to Lara's anxiety with confidence, reminding her that they are a married couple. Even if something were to happen, it would not be a bad thing, adding a note of levity to the conversation. Michael reminds Aisha that they are going to go downtown to visit a place she has always wanted to visit. Aisha enthusiastically agrees, her joy visible on her face and her mood brightening in anticipation of the trip. The main character is looking forward to the trip. Her happiness and anticipation fills her, which is reflected in her expression. She is ready to enjoy the time she will spend with Michael. Their plans inspire her for the day ahead. Robert suddenly appears and informs Michael of a problem that requires his attention. He respectfully reports to the Archduke that an unexpected circumstance has occurred regarding their travel. Robert clarifies that there was a technical problem with the carriage, and the problem specifically affected Michael and Aisha's carriage. He suggests that another carriage be prepared for the trip to avoid delays and discomfort. The master responsible for the carriage's condition explains that a crack has formed on one of the wheels. He emphasizes that a serious accident could have occurred if the problem had not been noticed in time, demonstrating his responsibilities. The Archduke of the North asks with caution about the cause of the breakdown, wanting to understand what exactly caused the damage to the carriage. His serious expression emphasizes the importance of the question and his concern. The servant assumes that the problem is due to the poor quality of the wood, which could not withstand the load, but he notes that the wheels were in perfect condition last night, which makes him suspect malicious intent, increasing the intrigue. Aisha watches as Michael gives orders to Robert. He asks to call the guards who were on duty yesterday to investigate further. The situation seems tense. Everyone is focused on solving the problem with the carriage wheel. It is discovered that the carriage wheel looks as if someone had damaged it on purpose. Robert and Michael are surprised by this fact, realizing that the damage could not have happened by accident. This begins to raise suspicions and questions about who could have done this. The guards salute and report to Michael that they are already aware of the incident. They assure that they will investigate and try to find out who is behind this damage to the wheel. Aisha's husband and Aisha watch their actions warily. The young lady examines the wheel and says that yesterday it was in perfect condition. No one saw anything suspicious during the night. Despite this, the damage is clearly intentional, and the situation becomes more and more confusing. Michael and Aisha recall that they returned to the inn in the morning, giving potential attackers plenty of time to strike the wheels of the carriage, leading them to believe that the attack was carefully planned. Aisha is sure that there was enough time to do something suspicious. She shares her guesses with Michael, trying to find an explanation for what happened. The situation becomes more and more mysterious. The Archduke of the North agrees with Aisha that this could not have been an accident, and that it was unlikely that children were involved. He decides that witnesses must be found who could shed light on what happened and orders his men to begin searching. Robert receives orders from Michael to send a reconnaissance team to investigate further. At the same time, he is instructed to go to Walter, presumably to discuss a plan of action. He follows orders, preparing for the work ahead. Aisha's husband instructs that the carriage must be repaired by the next day, as they have an urgent departure. At this point, the entire team realizes that the problem is more serious than it seemed at first glance, and they have a difficult investigation ahead of them. The main character stands on a balcony, looking into the distance at the majestic architecture of the capital. Michael explains to her that the building belongs to the captain of the Imperial Reconnaissance Detachment, a man he trusts completely. Walter, the captain of the Imperial Intelligence Detachment, shows with a calm and confident look that he is ready to fulfill any request of Michael, demonstrating his devotion and loyalty. Aisha is surprised to realize that Michael has connections in the capital. She suggests that they may have become friends on the battlefield, which leaves her feeling a little surprised. Michael remains calm despite the troubling circumstances they find themselves in. The young lady comments on how unperturbed he is, marveling at his composure and self-control. While Michael explains that such situations are rare, he also reminds that most people do not want to die, which adds tension and drama to their conversation. Aisha's husband suggests that they enjoy breakfast first and then head to their destination, although Aisha is hesitant about this decision given the threats that loom over them. Michael reassures Aisha that he will always be there for her. He also says that they cannot miss this opportunity despite the external danger. Aisha, looking at Michael, notices his strong desire to move on, which causes her mixed feelings. On the one hand, she is worried, but on the other, she feels his confidence. During breakfast, Aisha enjoys exquisite sweets, feeling as if she is in heaven. Immersed in this pleasant moment, she is distracted from disturbing thoughts. Absorbed by the taste of sweets, Aisha playfully decides to quickly eat everything, finding joy in this moment and distracting herself from the upcoming events. Chloe, Aisha's personal guard, notices with a slight smile that the hostess clearly enjoys the treat. The main character, although enjoying the meal, worries that it is time for them to return without delay. The Archduke of the North, holding a macaroni in his hand, advises them not to rush and finish eating calmly. He is confident in their safety, because the best knights of the empire are nearby, including himself. Aisha thanks him for his concern, but remains concerned about whether they have ordered too much food. Her embarrassment evident against the backdrop of a lavishly laid table, with an abundance of desserts. Chloe tries to justify the large order by saying that they have a child with them who needs to eat. Under her gaze, the boy Aaron eats the treat with gusto, trying not to attract unnecessary attention to himself. Robert rushes to Michael with a message addressing him as, "Your Grace." He says that a witness connected with an important matter has been found and must be questioned. Michael is unhappy with the unexpected turn of events and tells Robert that it will be difficult for him to be present in person now, but promises to come later. Robert agrees to pass on the message. The young lady, noticing that the matter required a quick resolution, suggested that Michael go to the meeting immediately, and she herself was ready to return home a little later after finishing the meal. Chloe confirms that, as second in command, she will personally ensure Aisha's safety and escort her back to the palace. Her words convey confidence in the securities. Robert remembers that he is actually the deputy and points this out in an irritated tone. Chloe humorously replies that she thought he was fired yesterday, egging him on and adding to the humorous atmosphere. Robert sharply asks her to stop croaking, playing along with their playful banter, which ends an emotionally charged but light-hearted moment in their daily duties. Aisha and Michael say goodbye at their farewell meeting. Michael touches her hair discreetly before leaving, causing Aisha to feel slightly embarrassed. There is a clear spark between them, and the moment is filled with emotion and the hidden meaning of their connection. Aaron apparently ate the entire dessert while they were talking. His calm face, adorned with ears, expresses gratitude for the treat. This cute and comical moment shows his carefree side, adding lightness to the story. Chloe suggests that they end their walk, reminding them that it is time to return. She is clearly fulfilling her duties as a guardian, keeping Aisha safe. However, the bright interior and warm sunlight give the scene a calming tone. The main character mentions that she ordered the driver to move the carriage away to avoid unnecessary attention, but expresses concern that he is late. She is concerned about his absence, which causes slight anxiety in those around her. Seeing the market, Aisha suggests going there and having a look around. Her face lights up at the thought of going for a walk, and she is genuinely happy about the opportunity. This moment highlights her inquisitive and cheerful nature. Aisha notices the unusual brewed potions. The bright colors of the potions catch her attention, and she admires how interesting they look. This moment adds an element of magic and mystery to the plot. The merchant notes Aisha's insight and explains that his goods have unique properties. They protect against cold and heat. His offer intrigues Aisha, and she is clearly intrigued by his words. The young lady, surprised by what she heard, asks to know more about the products. Her eyes sparkle with interest, and she eagerly awaits more information. This moment reveals her desire to explore and learn new things. Chloe appears in the shadows, her expression grim. She notices the rats clearly referring to the enemy and suggests capturing him. Her determination and readiness for action underscore her serious nature. The Archduke of the North gently touches Iran's head and instructs him to look after Aisha. This gesture expresses trust in the boy and emphasizes his important role in the Duchess's entourage. Aisha, along with Chloe and Aaron, enters the shop where they are greeted by the shopkeeper. He admires Chloe's unusualness, pointing out her status as a bodyguard, and asks to pay attention to the herbs he is going to show them. The main character interested in the offered herb asks whether it is really so effective. The seller is clearly trying to impress her, trying to emphasize the properties of his product. Suddenly, an unknown man appears in a dark corner. His appearance is mysterious and somewhat alarming, but he offers his help as if he was waiting for the right moment to intervene. Aisha replies that she was just passing by, trying to remain calm, although she is suspicious of the stranger's behavior. He does not show any obvious threat, but his actions seem too strange to her. The young lady advises the stranger to go his own way and not to interfere in their conversation. She commands Aaron to stand behind her, demonstrating her alertness and protective instinct in the face of a potential threat. The stranger compliments Aisha, noting her tenderness, while simultaneously being surprised by her interest in potent herbs. He explains that he simply could not resist talking to her, hinting at his own interest. The seller, smiling, assures Aisha that the herbs are absolutely harmless. He adds that a decoction of these herbs will help maintain a comfortable state of the body, protecting against cold and heat, and it should be consumed several times a day. Aisha realizes that the salesman is simply trying to sell her more goods. She accuses him of making it easier for him to convince a gullible customer, hinting that he is deliberately overstating the value of the goods to increase profits. The main character smiles suspiciously, asking if the seller is trying to deceive her. Her gaze becomes wary, and she is clearly not ready to trust his words, despite all his assurances. The seller, realizing that his trick has been exposed, admits that the herbs may have minor harmful effects and should not be abused. However, he emphasizes that the effect does exist, and the body will noticeably change from their use. Aisha, with a cold expression on her face, asks why the passerby is interested in this potion. She explains that she is extremely sensitive to cold and is looking for a remedy to alleviate her condition. The shop assistant, somewhat embarrassed, notes that the situation looks serious, as people usually do not try to treat such a minor weakness. The young lady firmly states that this is important to her, and she will manage it herself. A green-haired man smiles mysteriously and tells her that the herb she wants to buy has a strong side effect, leaving everyone in suspense as to what he will say next. The passerby continues explaining that once Aisha drinks the concoction, all of her beautiful hair will fall out. This news stuns Aisha, causing her to look nervously at the interlocutor. Furious at what she heard, Aisha exclaims that such a serious side effect is unacceptable. She looks at the salesman, demanding an explanation, and he begins to hesitate, not knowing what to answer. Aisha, full of indignation, waves her hand and exclaims that the concoction this man sells makes people bald. She notes that if it weren't for the warning from a passerby, the consequences could have been catastrophic. The main character looks around looking for the passerby, but he is nowhere to be found. She wonders how this could have happened, because he was just here, but like a ghost disappeared into the crowd. Aisha turns to Aaron and asks where the man went. Aaron, slightly embarrassed, replies that he has already left, leaving the girl in thought. The young lady, looking at her hair, feels relieved, but also a little sad. She realizes how much that man helped her, and regrets that she did not even have time to thank him for the timely warning. Chloe reveals that she left everyone alive as requested. She looks at Aisha with intensity, relaying important information that Aisha seemed not to expect to hear. Wondering who these people are, Aisha remains calm despite the unexpected news. Her gaze is focused, and she says that their carriage is ready, suggesting that they return. Her soft but confident tone shows determination. Aisha's husband realizes that these are the people Chloe was talking about. The men in their tattered coats look beaten, and he wonders why they were left alive. This makes him uneasy and adds to the tension. The description tells of knights who must always be close to the imperial family. However, Walter lives separately in a mansion, which calls into question his loyalty and role in protecting the ruling family. Michael and Walter greet Aisha when she arrives at the mansion. Their respect is clear in their words, But there is also some tension. Perhaps her arrival was unexpected for them. The Archduke of the North urges them to act quickly, fearing that someone might follow them. His serious look and determined words show that he is constantly on edge, fearing that their safety is at risk. Walter recalls his time as a captain in a reconnaissance troop and was constantly at the king's side. He played a key role in the war, which gave him a certain amount of freedom, including owning his own home. Aisha's husband is surprised to have the opportunity to visit Walter's old house. This place is connected to their past, and many events that remain in his memory, causing mixed feelings. Despite his confident actions, Michael admits to himself that he continues to feel uneasy. His wariness does not leave him, especially regarding what is happening in the mansion. Walter, meeting Michael, jokes that the report of his visit was the first topic of conversation after a long separation. However, there is a more serious note behind his words, showing the importance of their meeting. Michael says that he has arranged things in advance so that his visit will go unnoticed by the imperial family. Walter mockingly remarks that Michael clearly does not like emperors, but Michael counters that they dislike him rather. Michael expresses his displeasure at being called in for such a trivial matter, believing that Walter could have handled it himself. He does not understand why he was invited at all this time, since the situation seems simple and insignificant to him. Walter explains that the examination has shown that the blow to the carriage wheel was delivered with incredible precision, so much so that even experienced craftsmen cannot determine what instrument was used. The only hope is a witness. Aisha's husband looks at the girl holding a teddy bear in surprise. She looks scared and withdrawn. Walter confirms that she is the only witness, and there was no one else at the crime scene. Michael tries to get the girl to talk, asking who she saw next to the carriage. The girl is silent, clutching the teddy bear. The Archduke of the North sees that the girl is scared and understands that it will not be so easy to get an answer from her. Despite all attempts to ask questions, the girl remains mute. Michael notes that she clearly saw something, but is either too shocked or too afraid to speak. Walter reports that they tried various things, but nothing helped. Walter explains that Michael will now have to try to extract information from the girl himself, since all other methods have failed. He adds that even the girl's mother was lied to when she said it was an order from the emperor. Michael, watching the girl, wonders what is wrong with her and why she does not answer questions. He understands that her silence is the key to solving the case, but feels that he cannot find the right approach to get her to talk. The Archduke of the North makes another attempt. He addresses the girl softly and insistently, asking her to tell him everything she saw. His words sound sincere and sympathetic, and the girl looks at him as if she wants to say something important. The girl finally opens up and excitedly begins to tell what she saw next to the carriage. Aisha's husband is relieved to know that his efforts were not in vain and that he can now move forward with his investigation thanks to her words. The girl tells Michael that the suspect had black eyes, which made him seem even scarier to her. Michael listens carefully, pondering the meaning of this information, trying to find a connection between the details and the suspect. The Archduke of the North turns to Walter, asking what color eyes most people in the capital have. Walter, slightly taken aback, replies that many have dark brown eyes. Aisha's husband realizes that this answer does little to narrow down the suspects. Michael walks down the corridor, confused, pondering the situation. He begins to doubt his assumptions and suspects, feeling that he is losing the thread of the investigation. His thoughts become more and more confused, leading to an internal conflict. Michael and Robert discuss whether they were wrong to come to the capital without finding enough evidence to press charges. Aisha's husband feels the growing tension and anxiety over the lack of progress in the investigation, wondering if they made a mistake. Michael is convinced that the criminal holds a grudge against him, which only makes him more determined to find the culprit. However, Robert, his personal guard, reminds him that there is not enough evidence to bring charges against anyone yet. Robert tells Michael that they don't have enough evidence to suspect anyone yet. The Archduke of the North clenches his fist, showing his irritation and frustration. It's becoming increasingly difficult for him to remain calm, knowing that the enemy may be closer than he seems. Michael examines the carriage wheel, finding a thin crack that would have taken the intruder at least a couple of minutes to make. He wonders how the intruder managed to leave so few traces, wondering how no one noticed the suspicious activity in time. Michael asks Walter about Aisha's whereabouts. Walter reports that the lady has safely reached her lodgings. The Archduke of the North is relieved a little, knowing that his wife is safe, but his thoughts are still occupied by the investigation and the danger. Walter continues to tell Michael that Aisha fell asleep after dinner. Aisha's husband tries to focus on the information, but his anxiety does not subside. He realizes that his anxiety is not only related to the threat, but also that his loved ones may be in danger. The soldier anxiously informs Michael that Lady Chloe has asked him to hurry back because some suspicious characters have been captured. Michael, seeing bloodstains on the ground, realizes that the situation is escalating, and he needs to act quickly to understand what has happened and prevent further troubles. The Archduke of the North is lost in dark thoughts, realizing that he is beginning to fear his own thoughts. The black eyes remind him that he has almost lost the faith he has built up over the years in his loyal men, which creates uncertainty in him. He realizes how reckless he was to allow himself to suspect those closest to him. The gravity of this mistake makes him doubt himself, and the darkness around him increases the sense of danger and guilt for his mistrust. Chloe appears bright and confident, returning with important information. She immediately attracts Michael's attention by reporting on the events that took place during her walk through the market, which increases the tension. Chloe reveals that she noticed they were being followed and detained the suspects with Aisha's permission. This statement makes Michael realize that someone is clearly targeting his wife, which makes him anxious and angry. Aisha's husband decides to take action, his anger growing. He praises Chloe for the work she has done, but insists that the situation not reach Aisha. He does not want to wake his wife and disturb her. He orders the detainees to be taken to the basement, intending to deal with them personally. The determination and cold glint in his eyes show that he is ready to take extreme measures to protect his loved ones. The situation becomes even more tense when Michael and his companion discuss the strange uniforms of the detainees. This increases suspicions that they are connected to some new unknown unit, which raises even more questions. The tension builds as Michael and his companion move on, reflecting on the fact that the detainees probably didn't realize what they were getting into. This adds to the sense of danger and mystery. In the basement, Chloe smells blood, which immediately puts her on guard. She realizes that something terrible has happened here, and this makes her even more wary, preparing for the unexpected. Each step brings them closer to uncovering a mystery surrounded by blood and fear. Michael and Chloe realize that something sinister is lurking in the shadows of their home, and they are ready to face it. Michael gives Chloe an order, which makes her anxious. She looks tense, knowing that she has a difficult situation to explain. Aisha's husband is clearly agitated, which adds to the tension. Chloe brutally beats the kidnappers, who lie on the floor in tattered clothes and groan in pain. She explains that upon learning of Aisha's possible kidnapping, she could not contain her anger, feeling that she must protect her mistress at any cost. Chloe stands in front of Michael, trying to calm herself and collect her thoughts before reporting what happened. She looks serious and ready to talk, knowing that her actions could anger the Archduke. Chloe begins her report by explaining that the incident occurred when they were returning from the market after visiting a pastry shop. It all started when Aisha became interested in the medicinal concoctions at one of the stalls. The main character approached the merchant to look at the goods closer. At that moment, Chloe noticed suspicious men nearby. Her instincts immediately told her that something was wrong with them, and she prepared herself for a possible threat. As Chloe approached the suspicious men, she noticed one of them had a rope, which made her even more suspicious. Later, while searching them, she found sleeping pills in their pocket, which finally confirmed her fears. Chloe tries to interrogate the captives, asking who they are and whose orders they are following, but they remain silent. She shares her doubts with Michael, believing that the kidnappers themselves do not know the whole picture of what is happening and are only executing someone else's orders. Michael is frustrated and worried that no one knows who he is or how serious the situation is. He is worried that Aisha could have been the victim of an assassination attempt. He understands that Chloe's actions were meant to protect her, but he demands more specific answers. The Archduke of the North looks at the suspects with cold disdain. He reminds them that the woman they were trying to kidnap is the esteemed Archduchess of the North. His gaze turns menacing, emphasizing that such actions against Aisha are unforgivable. He warns that the Knights of the North are strong both physically and mentally. Even one word from these knights can strike fear into the hearts of weak-willed enemies. His words sound stern, emphasizing that no one will be able to threaten the safety of his wife with impunity. The purple-haired hero ponders the situation, estimating that after the latest turn of events, their enemies are probably scared to death. He is glad to be on the Archduke's side, knowing that it gives him an advantage. The captured kidnappers are begging for mercy in a panic. With broken faces and fear in their eyes, they insist that they are ready to tell everything they know just to save their lives, begging not to kill them. The kidnappers begin to give information, saying that a few days ago, they were approached by a group of gamblers from the capital who ordered them to kidnap the Highness, a woman connected to powerful people. The group describes how they were first tasked with finding a southern aristocrat who owed a large sum of money. This aristocrat in turn pointed to his daughter, who turned out to be married to a wealthy nobleman, which complicated the matter. The aristocrat, in order to save himself, offered his daughter as ransom, promising that they would pay 3 times more for her. The kidnappers freed him, believing his words, and began searching for the woman, hoping to quickly get rich. Robert Aisha's personal guard suspects deception in the kidnappers' story. He questions them on how they knew the lady's location if they had no details, showing his distrust. The kidnappers, trying to justify themselves, say that they received a rough description of her appearance. They assumed that since the father was in the capital, the daughter should be there too, and began searching in different places until they accidentally stumbled upon her. The guard continues to interrogate the kidnappers, noting that if they had really been looking for the lady for several days, they should have visited all the inns. He hints that they probably noticed her by her luxurious carriage, confirming their involvement. One of the kidnappers confesses in despair that he himself organized the kidnapping, realizing that he could no longer escape. He looks beaten and lost, realizing that his actions led to irreparable consequences. Michael orders his entourage to get rid of the kidnappers, summing up everything that has happened. The scene is tense with his determination and lack of mercy. Isabella Maltian. Davin's mother greets Crown Prince Benjamin with a friendly smile, creating an atmosphere of formality and warmth. She appears confident and calm, demonstrating her aristocratic grace. Benjamin politely responds to Isabella's greeting by holding a rose, which emphasizes his courtesy and respect. His friendly gesture and sincere smile show his affection for Isabella, creating a harmonious interaction. Benjamin notices that Isabella is walking alone unaccompanied and wonders about her safety. She replies that she prefers it this way, as it is something she is used to, emphasizing her independence and self-confidence. Benjamin notes that Isabella is still in the Palace of the Stars, although he expected her to return south. This hints at some intrigue or personal circumstances that keep her there, causing Benjamin to be surprised. Isabella's expression changes when Benjamin mentions her son Davin, hinting that he might miss his mother. This strikes an emotional chord in the conversation, and her eyes fill with sadness, adding to the dramatic moment. Isabella, who remains calm, confidently replies that her son probably manages his duties without her presence. She emphasizes that she only hears good news about him, demonstrating her pride and confidence in her son. The conversation moves to another place where they discuss Archbishop Maltian. One of the interlocutors mentions his successes and achievements, calling him a young ruler, which adds political context to the story, emphasizing his influence and importance. The other nobles discuss Archbishop Literban's achievements in the north, highlighting his considerable merits. Their conversation shows that things in the north are going well under his leadership, adding new layers to the overall political picture. Benjamin, listening to the conversations, becomes a little gloomy. His face expresses concern and hidden disappointment. Perhaps he feels the pressure of responsibility or personal difficulties that he has to face. Benjamin, struggling to control his emotions, admits to himself that he almost lost his temper. His tense expression speaks of an internal struggle, adding depth to his character and showing that even a crown prince can have doubts and worries. Aisha feels a slight chill as she watches the shimmering morning sun stream through the windows. The day has been eventful, leaving her with many thoughts and memories that still haunt her. She feels a slight shiver as she remembers conveying her inner uncertainty. Chloe greets Aisha with a smile and offers her a rest, noticing her fatigue. The young lady shyly agrees, realizing that the guard's concern is sincere and genuinely supportive. But in her heart, there is a growing worry that she cannot yet express in words. Reflecting on recent events, Aisha wonders about the mysterious people who have appeared in their lives. Their intentions remain a mystery, and this worries her because the answers are still not found. The uncertainty makes her feel vulnerable. Chloe confidently assures Aisha that the answers to all her questions will appear tomorrow. She tries to instill confidence in her ward, but Aisha still can't shake the feeling that the situation may be more complicated than it seems at first glance. Despite her fatigue, Aisha decides to hold on and not give up. Michael's imminent return gives her the determination not to put things off until later. She understands that she cannot afford to give up at such an important moment and prepares to meet her husband. At night, under the blanket, Aisha notices that Michael has returned, but she did not even notice his arrival. Her thoughts are occupied with worrying about his return and thinking about how she missed the moment of his arrival when she so wanted to meet him. When she steps out into the hallway, everything seems unusually quiet, which only increases her anxiety. Michael was supposed to leave for training at dawn, but everything suggests that something has gone wrong. This silence is not normal, and there is a feeling of something unusual in the air. The Archduke of the North slowly wakes up and quietly asks Aisha how long she has been awake. He too notices her restlessness and is slightly surprised that she is up so early. His eyes show the desire to calm her down, but words are not coming out yet. Aisha looks at Michael and thinks about how many questions she has, but she doesn't know where to start the conversation. Her soft smile expresses a mixture of tenderness and hesitation, because at this moment, she needs more than just words. Aisha's husband tells her that the criminal has been caught. He is clearly worried, and his face reflects the thoughts that weigh on him. He intends to explain to Aisha what happened, but first, he wants to clarify important details. The main character is surprised and wants to know the details. Michael says that everything that happened is not her fault, and the cause of the problem lies in his father. This revelation makes them both think about how to continue further. The Archduke of the North reveals that his father sold his daughter and even tried to kidnap her, thus showing the full extent of his cruelty and disregard for her as a person. Aisha realizes that for her father-in-law, she is just a thing. The young lady asks Michael an important question about his actions and their consequences. She is concerned about how far Michael has gone in his attempts to correct the situation and wants to know if anyone was killed. Aisha's husband meets Robert, who immediately asks him what he said to Aisha's question. Michael's words become an important signal for him because they reveal his moods and inner struggle. Robert reveals that Michael skipped his morning workout to be with Aisha, which is quite uncharacteristic of him. This shows his deep feelings and care for her, despite all the difficult circumstances. Michael often does this when he is plagued by anxious thoughts. Robert notes that, at such moments, Michael completely immerses himself in his emotions and uses this time to focus on what is really important to him. He reflects on his role and responsibility in what is happening, trying to find the right path. Despite all the pressure, Michael shows resilience and a willingness to protect those dear to him, even if it means standing up to his father. Tension builds between them as Michael realizes that his feelings and actions directly impact Aisha and her safety. Robert realizes that Michael is on the edge, balancing between duty and personal emotions. Michael realizes that he must overcome his inner demons to support Aisha and save their relationship. This moment shows his determination and willingness to make any sacrifice for her safety and happiness. Robert tries to console Michael, noticing his anxiety. He explains that Aisha was scared because it is always scary when human blood is spilled. Aisha's husband is sad, and Robert tries to soften the situation. Robert remembers being accused of cruelty after returning from the war. He tries to cheer Michael up by showing his smile and assuring him that he is okay. Michael listens silently, experiencing an internal conflict. The Archduke of the North wonders when he last heard gratitude from someone else. He finds it difficult to accept that Aisha acknowledged his sacrifices for her. It causes him strong emotions, and he looks confused. Michael remembers how Aisha hugged him and thanked him for his sacrifices for her. He was embarrassed by these words, because for him they were unexpected and unusual. The memories take him back to the moment when he felt something new. Against the backdrop of memories of the Liederbahn family, Michael feels gratitude that was once foreign to him. He realizes how much he sacrificed for his family, and now sees how important his actions are for his loved ones. Michael admits to himself that he never expected to hear such words from another person. He is amazed at how much his perception of gratitude has changed and how deeply these words have touched his heart. Robert begins to question his sanity as he feels emotions he hasn't felt before. His confusion grows, and he wonders how long he can ignore these new feelings that continue to haunt him. The Archduke of the North confirms that such changes are possible. He reassures Robert, explaining that feelings can change and that this is natural. Michael's words resonate with Robert, who seeks solace in these thoughts. The question of why Michael dines alone remains in the air. Servants serve him food, but his thoughts are clearly far from what is happening. He is lost in his thoughts and does not seek communication. Robert explains that Aisha needs time alone. He is sure that this is the right decision, because sometimes solitude is necessary to understand your own feelings and to understand what is happening around you. Robert and Chloe, discussing the situation, note that it is unlikely that Aisha and Michael have had a falling out. They push Robert to tell them what is going on, but he shirks, fearing the consequences. Aisha's husband, sitting at the table, listens intently to their conversation. Michael agrees that Aisha needs to be alone, and muses that although Aisha didn't say it outright, her reactions show that she was surprised, and perhaps shocked. Chloe tries to cheer Michael up, saying that he can easily diffuse tension. She smiles and winks, trying to lighten the mood, but Michael continues to look worried. Chloe reminds Michael that it is wrong to interfere in the situation, especially when Aisha is already having a hard time. She emphasizes the importance of not complicating the situation and offering support without interfering directly. The Archduke of the North reacts to Chloe's words with a slight thoughtfulness, indicating that he is willing to consider a different approach. He relaxes a little, acknowledging that her advice may be useful, and begins to formulate a plan of action. When Chloe asks what Michael plans to do, he says he'll do anything to see Aisha smile again. These words show how much he cares about her, and how important it is for him to bring back her joy. Chloe, surprised by his reaction, asks if Michael ever gave Aisha anything special. Aisha's husband is a little embarrassed, and admits that he always tried to give Aisha everything she needed, but never thought about small, nice gestures. Michael reflects on Chloe's words, and realizes that he never did nice little things for Aisha without a special reason. He realizes that such little things could have improved their relationship and made Aisha happier. Michael recalls how after their wedding, he decided that it was his duty as a husband to provide Aisha with everything she needed so that she would never want for anything. However, in caring for her material well-being, he missed the emotional component of their marriage. Looking back on their conversation in the early days of their marriage, Michael realizes that his approach to marriage was too formal. He asked Aisha only about her desires for the essentials and overlooked her need for simple pleasures and attention. Robert says that Aisha doesn't want anything, but his words are confusing. Aisha's husband, with a displeased expression on his face, is lost in his thoughts, perhaps thinking that something needs to change. Chloe says things are different now and urges Michael to take action before leaving the capital. Her seriousness and determination underscore the importance of the moment. Chloe and Robert agree that Aisha won't be able to enjoy the festival in her current mood. They decide to pick out the perfect gift for her to cheer her up. Robert approaches a salesperson in search of expensive jewelry, asking where he can find it, and wonders why the clothing stores are already closed. The saleswoman explains that all the merchants have been summoned to the Empress, so the shops are closed. This explanation makes the situation a little easier, but the task of finding a gift becomes more difficult. Chloe notices that they are empty-handed, but assures Michael that they will find something. She points in the direction where the desired product may be. Michael, wanting to do something nice for Aisha, decides to continue his search. His determination to give at least something underlines the importance of this moment for him. The Archduke of the North examines a massive necklace with a large stone and wonders if it will suit. His attempts to please Aisha are met with criticism from the shopkeeper, who suggests choosing something with many different stones. Michael is convinced that the more luxurious the gift, the more touched Aisha will be. He continues his search, trying to choose the most impressive option. Michael finds a piece of jewelry that he thinks is right for him. It is an elegant necklace with a delicate design and sparkling stones. His choice demonstrates his desire to please Aisha, despite all the obstacles. A salesman with a keen eye offers Michael a necklace, assuring him that it would be the perfect gift for his wife, hinting at a subtle understanding of his desire to please his spouse. The Northern Archduke, slightly embarrassed, decides to trust the advice, but is also surprised by the salesman's insight. Aisha's husband doubts his choice, feeling that the offered decoration is too simple. However, trusting the seller's experience, he hands him the money, allowing him to keep the change, just to avoid making a mistake in choosing a gift for his wife. Puzzled by the salesman's insight, Michael, holding his purchase, wonders how the old man could have guessed that the gift was intended for his wife, since he had never said a word about it. The seller explains with a wise smile that with age comes experience, and the ability to notice even the most insignificant details, which helped him guess the true purpose of the jewelry. Michael, still under the impression of the conversation, reflects on the diversity of people one meets in the capital. Each of them can present unexpected surprises like the salesman. Robert and Chloe, who are accompanying Michael, discuss the strangeness of the situation, wondering whether such expensive jewelry can really be sold on the ordinary streets of the capital. Chloe and Robert, tired of thinking and reflecting, decide not to think about what happened anymore, throwing all doubts and smiling in acceptance of the situation as it is. Aisha's younger brother, Ariane, receives a letter that Jerome tells him about. The letter is clearly of interest and may contain important news that will not leave either of them indifferent. Jerome, seeing the contents of the letter, is surprised that it is again from Archduke Maltian, whose attention to Ariane seems strange and alarming to him. Ariane, calmly confirming this, continues reading, preparing for the next test, which may bring with it another letter from the mysterious Archduke. Ariane, lost in his thoughts, recalls the care of Archduke Davin, with whom he had a warm relationship. Despite rumors that they are brothers, Ariane claims that this is not the case. He assures that Davin is simply showing concern for his family, emphasizing his gratitude and respect for the Archduke. Ariane finds it strange that, as a simple student at the academy, he receives letters from Davin so often. He cannot understand why he is so actively interested in his affairs, but he senses some hidden concern in it, perhaps reminiscent of family affection. Jerome, Ariane's friend, also wonders why the Archduke cares so much about Ariane. He suggests that Davin may be interested not in Ariane himself, but in someone else connected to him. The Archduke's attention makes Jerome surprised and even slightly envious. Ariane reveals the secret to Jerome, explaining that all this concern is not really directed at him, but at his sister Aisha. He shows a letter from the Archduke mentioning her name, and Jerome realizes that Davin's attention is focused on Aisha. Ariane examines the letter and confirms that its contents are entirely related to his sister. He recalls how the Archduke often asked about her well-being and needs. This causes mixed feelings in Ariane. He is happy for his sister, but also feels a little forgotten in the midst of these concerns. Jerome is delighted by the news and jokingly suggests that Ariane take advantage of the situation by going with Aisha to the upcoming festival. Ariane shyly waves this off, but the idea of spending time with his sister begins to appeal to him. Ariane, with mixed feelings, agrees with Jerome. He knows that Aisha always invites him to such events, and although at first he feels uncomfortable, he gradually realizes that he wants to spend time with his sister, especially now that Davin cares for her so much. Jerome bids Ariane a cheerful farewell, gesturing to his sister waiting outside. He enthusiastically agrees to go with her, encouraging Ariane and reminding him to enjoy every moment. Ariane, looking at Jerome and his sister, feels a surge of warmth and a little envy at their friendly relationship. Ariane is left alone with his thoughts. He looks at the letter and can't believe that he will soon go to the festival with Aisha. He feels his heart fill with joy and warmth because this time spent with his sister seems special and almost unreal to him. At this time, Davin in his castle receives a letter from Ariane in return. He thanks the Baron for the delivery with a smile and reads the lines from the young man. The letter gives him relief and joy because he sees that his care for Ariane's family is bearing fruit, strengthening their bond and closeness. Varon, a young servant, brings a stack of documents and entrusts them to the Archduke of the South Devon. Varon looks a little confused as the tasks multiply and the desk fills with papers. He leaves the documents on the desk, hoping that the Archduke will sort them out. Davin, despite the abundance of work and piles of papers, looks calm and even happy. Varon notices this and wonders how the Archduke manages to maintain such ease in his work, despite all his responsibilities. Davin smiles back, but sees the weariness in his servant's eyes. Varan looks tired and a little worried. Davin notes this with concern, reminding him of the importance of rest. Varan is clearly overtired, as he always tries to keep up and be useful. Varan explains that he didn't try to look so tired on purpose and promises to take Davin's comment into account. Davin is embarrassed and clarifies that he didn't mean to draw attention to it at all, fearing to hurt Varan's feelings. Varan, realizing that he is overworking himself, feels awkward and even a little guilty towards Davin. He admits that the Archduke should not have seen him like this because Varan always tries to be on top of his game. Davin, thinking about current affairs, decides to change the date of the festival, as the flowers will bloom earlier this year. He suggests to Varan to organize everything faster to please the residents. Davin is full of enthusiasm, but understands that this decision will add trouble to the servants and the entire state. He realizes that the accelerated preparations will require great effort, not only from the servants, but from all the people of the South. Davin understands that his decision will change the usual way of life, but is ready to take the risk for the greater success of the event. The Archduke begins to realize that he may have overestimated his strength and taken on too much work. He considers slowing down a bit so as not to overburden himself and others. There are numerous papers on his desk, which only emphasize how busy he is. Despite his busy schedule, Davin decides to take some time for himself and read a letter from Arian. He wants to find a moment of calm in his busy schedule and dives into reading, hoping for support and inspiration from his friend. Aisha smiles as she discusses her recent adventures on the road south. She looks calm, but a little tired from what happened. Her blonde hair flutters gracefully in the wind, and she tries to give her words a light-hearted tone. The Archduke of the North consoles Aisha, explaining that what happened was not her fault and that she should not be upset about it. He carefully holds her hand, showing his support and confidence that she is not to blame for anything. Suddenly, Walter, the captain of the Royal Reconnaissance Squad, appears surprised that Aisha and Michael are leaving without saying goodbye. He reacts sharply to their retreat, as if he does not want to let them go so easily without a proper farewell. Walter, upon seeing Aisha, expresses his surprise to learn that she is actually so sweet and not at all like her rude and cruel husband. His gaze shows genuine interest and curiosity in her personality. After introducing himself, Walter displays his manners, apologizing for not telling her his name right away. He says that he is the captain of the Royal Reconnaissance Squad and is pleased to meet her. He tries to win Aisha over with his charm. Aisha's husband understands that Walter will be willing to fulfill any request he may make, since they have known each other for so long. Michael's thoughts about the captain go deep into his reflections on the past and the bonds they share. The main character introduces herself to Walter, responding to his greeting, and expresses her pleasure at meeting him. She remains polite and courteous, but Michael asks her to leave the formalities aside, wanting a more direct communication. Aisha thanks Walter for his help and for his words, trying to show her gratitude. She looks sincere and slightly embarrassed, but her gratitude sounds warm and heartfelt, which touches everyone present. Walter explains that he has wanted to meet Aisha for a long time and regrets that he interrupted her meeting with the Archduke, thereby causing Michael's displeasure. Michael, standing nearby, confirms that he was not offended, although Walter does not seem to believe his words. The young lady is confused when she realizes that Michael thought of their meeting as a date. Her cheeks flush, and she is internally embarrassed by these words. She cannot believe that Michael saw that day as a date and is embarrassed by her own feelings. Walter recalls how Michael has changed since his youth. He has become a completely different person, more confident and mature. Walter smiles and mentions that they have a long road ahead and suggests that they continue on their way. Before leaving, Walter wants to tell Aisha a story about Michael's youth. He prepares himself for the story, clearly wanting to share something meaningful and interesting about the Archduke. Walter says that at 18, Michael was much rougher than he is now. Even in battle, he was strict and tough with his comrades. But despite his severity, he always helped in difficult situations. Walter continues by mentioning that Michael was the only one who came to his aid when Walter, an old soldier, was in danger. This story shows that despite his toughness, Michael has a kind heart. Walter jokingly states that love is the best recipe for happiness, implying that Michael has finally found his home with Aisha. Michael reacts to the jokes with slight irritation, but it is clear that he is pleased to hear it. Michael is informed that all preparations are complete. He quietly thanks them for the information and says that they are leaving. His determined demeanor shows his readiness to face any challenges along the way. Aisha notices the peaceful expression on Michael's face. She assumes that he is happy to meet Walter, even if he does not say so out loud. This makes her understand that Michael is capable of showing emotion and caring despite his stern appearance. Aisha's husband suggests that Aisha get some sleep as they have a long journey ahead of them. His words convey concern and a desire for her to feel comfortable, which touches Aisha. The main character realizes that she should not misinterpret Michael's kindness. She understands that she must take control of her feelings, but her heart still flutters when she thinks about his care and attention. Michael asks Aisha if she is awake and invites her to look out the window, opening her eyes. Aisha is amazed by the beauty of the landscape outside the window. She is delighted and touched that Michael shared this moment with her, seeing in this gesture another facet of his character. Aisha and Michael are in a carriage. The young lady is surprised that they have not yet reached their destination. She is worried because this is her first trip to this area. The Archduke of the North notes with a smile that Aisha is literally beaming with excitement, as if she had never been here before. Aisha looks at the sunset outside the window and admits that this is all new to her. Even though this is Chloe's homeland, Aisha feels strange not knowing how to react to such beautiful landscapes because she sees them with her own eyes for the first time. Suddenly, Chloe looks out the carriage window and announces that dinner is ready. She is clearly in a good mood and having fun, and Aisha is a little confused by her unexpected appearance and suggests that everyone get out of the carriage. Michael and Chloe make it clear that now is the perfect time for a special event, pushing Aisha to take advantage of the opportunity. The protagonist, although not fully understanding what is happening, begins to sense that something important is about to happen. Michael asks what's going on when he sees Aisha is a little confused. Aisha is just beginning to catch on to the surprise, her face alight with anticipation as she turns to Michael with a questioning look, and Chloe watches their reactions closely. The Archduke of the North hands Aisha a small box, tied with a red ribbon, and asks her to accept this gift. The young lady, holding back her emotions, carefully takes the box, not knowing what is inside, but her heart flutters in anticipation. Aisha asks if she can open the gift, and Michael smiles and allows it. Her gaze becomes more focused. She looks closely at the box that promises something special that can change her feelings and thoughts. Inside the box is a necklace that Michael chose especially for Aisha. When Aisha sees the necklace, she remembers Michael's eyes, realizing how much it means to him. She is amazed at how subtly he noticed her preferences. The main character looks at the decoration with deep feeling, noticing that it is the first time she has received such a gift. For her, it is not just a decoration, but a symbol of their special relationship and Michael's deep feelings, which causes a wave of gratitude and tenderness in hers. Aisha's husband comes closer and offers to help Aisha put on the necklace. She, feeling his sincerity and care, agrees. At this moment, something more than just a gift is given between them. It is an expression of their mutual feelings and understanding of each other on a new level. Aisha notices that her necklace, which is made with grace and sophistication, suddenly breaks and falls to the ground, crumbling into pieces. This event causes her unexpected disappointment and confusion. Michael, worried about the situation, asks Aisha if he pulled too hard. The young lady, holding her hands in front of her, assures him that this is not the case. She is confused because she herself did not expect the necklace to be so fragile. When Aisha asks where Michael got the jewelry, he admits that he bought it from a street stall. His face expresses annoyance and shame at what happened. He covers his eyes with his hand, realizing that he made a mistake. The Archduke of the North is genuinely worried and perplexed as to why the necklace broke, since he paid a considerable amount for it. He is sure that the seller chose the best. There is despair in his voice, since this should not have happened. Aisha sits down on the grass next to Michael, and he turns to the sunset, Aisha's husband. Not hiding his disappointment, declares that he hates the capital, where it would seem everything should be better. But in reality, it turns out not to be so. Michael is still upset about what happened, But Aisha, not wanting to leave him sad, reveals that she took the broken necklace with her. She carefully put it in her purse, trying to save even the broken parts. While Michael is deep in thought, Aisha tries to lighten the mood by smiling and saying that she would like to meet the salesman who deceived them again. There is more lightness in her words than malice. The main character consoles Michael, saying that anything can happen, and for her, this is the first time that something went wrong. She believes in the best and supports Michael, encouraging him with warm words that should restore his confidence. Michael, touched by Aisha's support, promises to buy her something better next time and will test it for durability in advance. He wants to be sure that he will not let her down again. Aisha's husband takes her hand, carefully promising to improve. Aisha, touched by his attention, smiles and assures Michael that it is enough for her, that he simply wanted to do something nice for her. She is grateful to him and assures him that everything is fine, adding warmth to their relationship. The young lady, looking at Michael with interest, asks him why he has prepared a gift for her. Her sincere curiosity and the gentleness in her voice cause a smile to appear on his face. He answers her mysteriously with a question, prompting Aisha to guess for herself. Michael, with a slight smile, asks what Aisha thinks would motivate him to give her a gift. His gaze is warm and full of tenderness, and his intentions seem clear. The Archduke of the North wants her to understand his feelings without further ado. He admits that he wanted Aisha to be in a good mood. His goal is to see her smile, because that is the most important thing for him. Michael shows care and attention to his wife's emotions, which touches Aisha even more. Aisha feels her heart begin to beat faster. His simple but sincere words evoke strong emotions in her that she hasn't felt in a long time. She is surprised by how much this moment touches her. Her thoughts are filled with emotions. She understands how important this gift is to her and decides that she will definitely have to fix it. Michael remains serious, but inside, he is also filled with warmth from these moments. They are approaching their destination. The main character notices how the buildings are getting bigger and realizes that they have almost reached their destination. The excitement is growing, but so is the tension of the upcoming meeting. The Archduke of the North tells Aisha, with some awkwardness, that they are almost there. His calm at this moment contrasts with his inner turmoil, but he tries to remain composed so as not to disturb Aisha. Aisha feels how the awkward atmosphere between them gradually becomes pleasant to her. She understands that Michael experiences the same emotions as she does, and this brings them even closer. Before them appears a majestic estate where they are to stay. The house looks impressive and inspires a sense of respect, but also carries with it the expectation of something important and fateful. Aisha's husband was initially against them staying in this place, but he finally agreed after much persuasion from Aisha. She felt that his resistance only increased the significance of what lay ahead, and she was grateful for his understanding. The young lady walks next to Michael. Aisha smiles and advises him to be careful, to which Michael agrees, although he looks a little worried. There is a sense of warmth and care between them, despite Michael's visible tension. They arrive in Malta, greeted by guards of honor, with pikes and a magnificent carriage. There is a festive atmosphere, but the night seems too late for such a reception, which disconcerts Aisha. The main character is taken aback by the unexpected greeting that occurs late at night. Her surprise is conveyed by her facial expression. She clearly did not expect such a ceremony at such a late hour. They are greeted in the hall by a representative who expresses joy at their arrival. Noting that they have come a long way, Aisha and Michael respond with grateful smiles despite their fatigue from the journey. Inside the hall, already at tea, Davin notices that Aisha has lost a lot of weight. He is genuinely concerned about her health, which makes Aisha slightly embarrassed, but she assures him that she has eaten and slept enough. The young lady suggests not to discuss the topic of her father at such a late hour. She tries to calm the guests and suggests continuing the conversation at a more appropriate time so as not to disturb the peace of the night. Davin asks how their trip to the capital went. Noting that they were delayed, Aisha says that the trip was indeed interesting, but she is noticeably tired from the journey. The main character feels awkward about their late reception. She reflects on how long they were expected, and on the people who stayed until the night to greet them. Michael assures Aisha that everything went as planned, and reminds her that it was she who asked them to stay in Malta. He expresses support, hinting at the predictability of their actions and what is happening now. Davin agrees with Michael and emphasizes that everything really went according to plan. He smiles happily, calling Michael Archduke Liederbahn, which emphasizes their respectful and warm communication. Aisha, accepting tea from a servant, makes a mistake and thanks him, calling him Aaron. However, the servant corrects her, saying that he is not Aaron. The young lady looks at him in surprise, trying to understand what is going on. The second servant, Varan, enters the room, and it becomes clear that both servants are twins. Aisha is confused, not understanding why they look the same. Michael, standing nearby, smiles, watching her reaction. The main character, slightly embarrassed by the situation, asks why one of the servants is laughing. She is perplexed, as she is not used to such attention from servants, especially when her jokes are not understood. The Archduke of the North explains to Aisha that the twins are easily confused, as they are both servants and have the same appearance. This leaves Aisha even more surprised, and she muses out loud at how detailed the supporting characters are. Aisha continues to ponder why even minor characters have such detail. She notes that they look too similar and wonders how the Baron from the capital and the twins ended up in different places. Aisha's husband tells Aisha about the laws of the capital, according to which the right to property remains with the one who lives in the place the longest. The young lady begins to connect this information with the fate of the twins and wonders how this affects their lives. Aisha wonders why the twins are separated and working in different places. She is worried that it might be due to some problem or fight between them. She wants to understand why they are separated despite being related. The twins answer in unison that one serves in the north and the other in the south. They say this with sadness, but clearly understand that they could not choose where to go. The main character is surprised that their separation was forced. Aisha breathes a sigh of relief, realizing that there is no serious problem between the brothers, and their separation is only due to work obligations. She smiles, feeling relieved that nothing serious has happened. Michael sums things up by announcing that the twins' things have already been delivered to their rooms and invites everyone to go outside. He cordially invites everyone to take a walk, to discuss what happened and enjoy the nice weather. Davin welcomes Aisha and Michael into his palace, offering them large rooms to rest in. The young lady looks around warily, sensing the tension in his words. Davin is clearly trying to create a welcoming atmosphere, but his intentions seem suspicious. Michael and Aisha are faced with an unexpected situation when they find out that they have been given one room for the two of them. Aisha is shocked by this turn of events and tries to understand Davin's true intentions, who reminds them of the rules in his house. The protagonist wonders why Davin is so interested in their presence. She notices that everyone is waiting for her decision and feels the pressure growing. Aisha's husband and Davin watch her reaction tensely, as if trying to guess how she will react. Overcoming her confusion, Aisha decides that she and Michael will sleep separately. She says with a smile that she has long dreamed of sleeping normally without curling up on a small bed. Her joy is visible on her face. She is confident in her decision, despite the strange situation. In the evening, when Aisha finds herself in her room, she realizes that the bed is incredibly large for one person. She cannot shake off the feeling of loneliness despite the luxurious surroundings. Thoughts about Michael haunt her, and she wonders if she did the right thing. In the darkness of the room, Aisha finds no peace. Her thoughts drift towards loneliness and separation, and she begins to question her decisions. Doubt and anxiety overwhelm her, and she wonders if perhaps she has done the wrong thing. The next morning, Davin notices Aisha's tired appearance and asks if she slept well. Aisha tries to hide her displeasure and assures him that everything was fine. Although her appearance suggests otherwise, she realizes that she is having a hard time adjusting to her new surroundings. The young lady notices her tired face in the mirror and admits that she only fell asleep in the early morning. Her thoughts return to Michael, and she realizes that it is not only the sleeping conditions that bother her, but also the emotional distance between them. Aisha learns that Archduke Liederbahn has entered the room. Her face expresses slight anxiety, but she calmly orders him to be let in. It is a meeting full of hidden emotions and the anticipation of an important conversation. When Michael enters, Aisha immediately notices his tiredness. She asks him solicitously if he has had enough sleep, and he smiles and replies that it is she who looks restless. A slight hint of humor passes between them. Michael explains that he couldn't sleep because he felt empty in the room. His tense body language and hidden melancholy suggest that he's worried about something more than just lack of sleep. The main character is surprised by his confession. She seems touched and embarrassed at the same time. This moment brings them closer, creating an atmosphere of some intimacy and mutual understanding. Suddenly, Aisha realizes that she has said too much and begins to feel embarrassed. Her thoughts are full of excitement, and she blames herself for accidentally revealing her feelings. This moment makes her image even more human and touching. The Archduke of the North, slightly blushing, makes an unexpected proposal. He thinks that they should ask to share a room together so as not to feel lonely. This proposal sounds so frank that it adds intrigue to their relationship. Aisha is surprised by the beauty and fragrance of the flowers that surround her. It is a completely different world than the cold north she is used to. She enjoys this moment, trying to hide her embarrassment. Michael, feeling her worries, understands that this is a special opportunity for her too. He experiences mixed feelings, because for him, this is a new and unknown feeling of warmth and care to which he is not yet accustomed. As they walk together, they notice how the people of the South greet Michael with friendliness and warmth. The young lady sees that he is as close to these people as he is to the people of his native North, which makes her feel proud of him. A child runs up to them and places a wreath of flowers on Aisha's head, welcoming her from the South. This gesture symbolizes her acceptance into a new world where there is warmth, care, and love, and she feels welcome. Aisha looks tenderly at Michael, who is hesitantly wearing the flower crown the children have made. She notices how beautiful the crown looks on him and speaks of it warmly, noting the sweet efforts of the children who worked hard to collect the flowers. Michael reluctantly agrees to this, but feeling uneasy, hands the flowers to his guard. Robert happily accepts the flowers, smiles, as if embarrassed by the concern, and readily agrees to help his master at this moment. The main character, observing the situation thoughtfully, asks if she should also take off the flowers, because in her opinion, it is not very comfortable for an adult woman to look so childish. But Michael asks in surprise why she wants to do this, because flowers suit her. At this time, Aisha notices how the atmosphere of the holiday surrounds them. There are flowers everywhere, and it seems to her that the whole city has turned into a huge garden. She reflects on the fact that it is not for nothing that this festival is called Flower Festival. Flowers have filled every corner of the city. David approaches Aisha and is surprised to see that she likes flowers. He remembers how he asked her out several times, but she always refused. This raises questions in him, and he waits for the answer with interest, looking at her. The Archduke of the North, standing nearby, notices that Aisha also has a favorite flower. This catches his attention, and he shares this information as if discovering something new and important about his wife. This flower is Kilimanjaro. Aisha's husband describes it as bold and unusual, which surprises Aisha. Her funny reaction suggests that perhaps Michael is exaggerating, a little adding his own personal impressions. Aisha suddenly realizes that the events unfolding before her do not match the original story, which did not include this scene. She is amazed at how the events have changed, especially when she watches the friendly conversation between the two archdukes. The young lady smiles and notes that although the archdukes seem to be friends, she didn't even know about it before. She sees something funny in this misunderstanding, but realizes that it is no longer her problem and lets it go. Aaron, standing by the window, looks at the landscape and has a calm conversation with his brother. He asks a question as if not expecting much enthusiasm from the answer. Their dialogue shows a certain indifference to what is happening. The brothers then meet face to face, and Aaron expresses surprise that they are in this place together. He looks a little thoughtful, as if he did not expect to see his brother at this moment. Aaron asks how his brother Varon is doing. In the silence and contemplation, Varon only says the word brother, hinting at something important that he may not dare to discuss directly. Aaron, looking out the window at the courtyard, asks if his brother saw the lady while she was in this place. He is clearly worried that something has escaped his attention. Perhaps someone important was here. Varon notices that the lady has changed a lot since she got married. Her status has increased, and apparently she is quite happy with her new life. At this time, Aran is thinking, listening to his brother. Reflecting on the woman, the brothers realize that she is not the kind of person who will depend on a title or status. This thought calms them, and they see her inner strength, which they admire. One of the brothers notes that she reminds him of their sister, which suggests family ties, and the influence of family on their perception of people. This fact makes him wonder about her role in their lives. Meanwhile, Michael and Davin are engaged in a lively conversation. Davin is worried that he was unable to find out where the person he is looking for is Michael. On the contrary, is calmer and tries to console his friend. The Archduke of the North confidently assures Davin that he has nothing to worry about. As soon as the one they are looking for returns, they will be informed immediately, and they can take action. Aisha's husband says this with absolute certainty. Davin gently reminds Michael of the busy schedule the next day and advises him to be prepared. There is concern in his voice, as they both know that they will have to leave Aisha tomorrow, and this makes them anxious. Aisha meets with other students of the academy, along with her younger brother, Aryan. She is wearing her uniform and discussing what school uniforms look like at this time. There is a lively atmosphere around due to the festival. Davin and Aisha notice the presence of academy students in the city and are confused, as the academy is far away. Davin explains that they are currently on holiday due to the festival, which is why they are here. The main character is surprised that Aryan also came to the festival, but Davin confirms that he will arrive tomorrow and immediately return to the academy. This causes mixed feelings in Aisha. Aisha, being naive and trusting, is surprised to learn that Davin specifically asked Aryan to come. This unexpected revelation makes her wonder about Davin's motives. Michael appears at this point and asks Aisha about the meeting with Aryan. He, as usual, demonstrates his knowledge, which causes a slight panic in Aisha. Davin makes fun of Aisha, reminding her that she should spend time with her brother Aryan. The young lady is a little annoyed, but she is used to his jokes. The difficult situation causes mixed emotions in Aisha, and she decides to share it with Michael. However, she doubts how her husband will take it, but his support calms her down. At this time, Chloe, Aisha's personal bodyguard, arrives and meets Aryan. She notices his resemblance to Aisha, which makes everyone wonder about their family connection. Aryan also feels the resemblance, but keeps his thoughts to himself. Aisha can't help but think that if she were a guy, she would look like Aryan, which makes her smile. The main character and Aryan meet, and after a long separation, their greeting is filled with warmth and nostalgia, emphasizing the family bond and their closeness to each other. Aryan is clearly worried about the consequences of his decision, fearing that his father will find out about what is happening. He is clearly afraid of their reaction, and his anxiety reveals the importance of his father's opinion in his life. Aisha watches her brother with a knowing look, realizing how much he worries about his father's opinion. This moment shows the deep connection between them, where Aisha tries to support Aryan. To cheer up her brother, Aisha suggests forgetting about their father for at least this day and going to the party. With her carefree appearance, she tries to distract him from thoughts of family problems. The young lady reminds him that this is their first festival together, and they need to make it as fun as possible. Her goal is to create happy memories for her brother despite his worries. When Aisha happily offers Aryan a snack, she shows her concern for his well-being and mood. This moment emphasizes her desire to surround her brother with attention and warmth. Aryan, surprised by her observation, hears praise from his sister for his good appetite. Aisha is glad to see that her brother is healthy and is sincerely happy about his good condition. The main character remembers that he used to eat much less and advises him to take care of himself, offering him strawberries. This gesture emphasizes her care and desire for him to be happy and healthy. Aryan admits that he can't eat that much, but he's glad that his sister cares about him. This moment shows how their relationship is based on mutual understanding and support. Aryan recalls how difficult it was for both of them due to the influence of their father and Baron Marianne. This moment highlights that behind their joyful moments, there are deep family conflicts. Aisha notices that Aryan has grown up and is not at all like his father. Her words are full of pride for her brother, and she hopes that he will follow his own path, not repeating his father's mistakes. Aryan is surprised to notice that Aisha has changed something new. Mysterious has appeared in her gaze. He, although nervous, smiles, trying to look calm. At this time, Aisha laughs, trying to hide the slight tension and internal struggle. The younger brother happily talks about how amazing it is that they are together at the festival. He is full of excitement and Aisha smiles happily, seeing how her younger brother is enjoying the moment. It is a warm scene of their brotherly and sisterly closeness. The young lady and Aryan discuss studying at the academy. Aryan admits that he himself dreamed of going, but only recently became a first-year student. He is determined because he has a goal, and Aisha supports him in this dream. Aisha looks at her younger brother with confidence and softness in her eyes. Her voice has become firmer, which surprises Aryan himself. She speaks with confidence and strength that he has not noticed in her before. Aryan shares his thoughts with Aisha about the chance he got thanks to her. He admits that before, because of his father, he could not even dream of studying at the academy. The main character, hearing this, feels deep satisfaction from the fact that she was able to help him. Aryan, like a younger brother, giving flowers to his older sister, does it with care and warmth. Aisha smiles and wishes him luck in his studies. Their bond becomes even stronger. The young lady asks how her brother is doing in the cold north, thinking that it might be a difficult place for him. However, there is a glint in her eyes, clearly hoping for a positive answer, wishing him comfort. Aryan, a little hesitantly, tells us that the last time he saw the Archduke was at a wedding. There is respect in his voice, but he is not entirely sure of his feelings for the man. Aryan remembers how on the day of his wedding, the Archduke approached him and put his hand on his shoulder. This gesture was strange and confused the boy. What exactly did this mysterious man want to say? In Aryan's memories, there remains the image of the Archduke looking at him with a mysterious and sinister smile. He still does not understand what it meant and is tormented by the thought. Did he do something that could offend such a powerful man? Aisha notices that Aryan's expression does not match his intentions, suggesting that he was trying to support her. Her feelings for him are complicated, and she wonders what is really behind his actions. She reflects on life with him and realizes that despite his outward coldness, Aryan is a warm and kind person. At this point, she realizes that behind the mask of indifference, there are tender feelings, although the cold reigns around. Aisha notices how hard Aryan works at his studies, and this slightly surprises her. She sees him not just as a brother, but as a diligent child who sincerely strives for something more. The girl understands that a long breakup awaits them, and she becomes sad about the upcoming separation. But she tries not to show her feelings, although the internal tension is growing, and it is difficult for her to hide her emotions. Aryan is about to ask Aisha an important question. His face is serious. It makes her wonder what exactly is going through his mind at this moment, because she sees determination and anxiety in his eyes. Aisha asks him a question, considering it wrong to leave her father. She tries to understand his point of view, because this situation affects not only her, but him as well. The girl feels confused and wants to understand what drives Aryan. Aryan firmly states that if he meets his father again, he will no longer sit idly by. He does not believe that his father will change, and this firm determination is heard in his voice. For him, the past is too heavy to simply forget. Aisha says that Aryan's opinion is important to her because their father concerns both of them. She tries to show him that they both have the right to decide, and that each of them should express their thoughts on the current situation. Aryan admits that he hated himself for his weakness and inability to protect his sister. His inner torment torments him, and he feels guilty before Aisha for having once been unable to be a support for her. Aryan realizes that Aisha no longer needs his help. This moment brings him pain and relief at the same time. He sees that his sister has become strong and independent, but this does not make his soul feel any better. Aisha bids Aryan farewell, pointing out his safety should any problems arise. She clearly cares for her brother as he is young and vulnerable. Aryan responds confidently, promising that he will always contact her in case of danger. Aryan is relieved to know that his sister is okay. He smiles, feeling warm and proud that everything worked out well, and his sister is now safe. When Aryan decides to take a shortcut, he feels uneasy. The city at night seems gloomy and quiet, which makes him anxious. He feels a vague uneasiness, as if he has a premonition of something bad. Aryan wonders if his feelings are due to excitement when he heard about his father. However, he is haunted by the feeling that someone is watching him, which increases his anxiety and makes him more alert. Realizing that there might be danger, Aryan clutches a knife in his hands for self-defense. He realizes that he does not know how to fight, and this causes him additional worries. But with a knife, he feels a little more confident. Due to the darkness, Aryan is unable to see the face of the man who appears in the distance. He begins to think that this stranger was sent by his father, which only adds to the anxiety of the situation. Michael, a golden-haired man, suddenly appears before Aryan, who does not recognize him. At first, Aisha's husband calls him brother-in-law, reminding him that the last time they saw each other was at a wedding, thus breaking the tension of the moment. Aryan feels awkward and apologizes to Michael for his impudent behavior. Michael, in turn, admits that he himself snuck up on him from behind, which is why their meeting was so unexpected. The Archduke of the North points out that only bars are open at this time, and Aryan, as a student, is not allowed to visit such establishments. He instructs him like an older relative, with a slight note of reproach. Aryan listens to Michael, understanding his concern and instructions. In the night city, the illuminated windows create an atmosphere of a warm but anxious night, which symbolizes